welcome to the parenting seminar given by Imam. A few things. Number one, inshallah, this is going to be about 3 hours, hopefully no more than 3.5 hours maximum if we need some extra time. That's number one. Number two, later on this afternoon, at around 3 o'clock, is going to be the performance by Rahim. So afterwards, if you can bring your children after we finish from this, you'll have time to go back and gather your children and come here, inshallah. Is there anything else that I need to mention before? Hiba, anything else? There are notepads obviously there. We're going to allocate some time for questions and answers, so I guess we'll try to save those towards the end of the seminar or whenever Imam opens the floor. With that, Imam.
Too much technology is not good. All right, finally we start inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. All praise is due to Allah, and may the best of peace and blessings be on our Prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let's recite together Surah Al-Fatiha, start with some Quran, so inshallah we have the blessings. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, maliki yawmiddin, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Beautiful day, ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we need to thank Him for, and beautiful view, mashallah, and being here together and looking at the legacy of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the topic, as you all see, is raising a strong generation the prophetic way. So we'll be looking at stories, qasas, a lot of hadith, a lot of stories from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how he dealt with kids around him. Those kids, we usually look at them and we hear all of these names, but we think of them as giants. But they did not start as giants, they started as kids and little children around the Prophet ﷺ. Before I start, I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best of benefit out of that, inshallah, and to enable us to give the best to our children, inshallah. And again, before I start, I'd like to talk about I give credit first. This is basically based on the book, Al-Manhaj al-Nabawi, Tarbiyat al-Tifl, the prophetic way to bring up a child. And this is for Suwaid, Sheikh Suwaid, it's Muhammad Hafiz Suwaid. It's in Arabic, I'm not sure if it has a translation into English, but it's a beautiful book that most of what you're going to see here is based on that. And also it's based on a series of lectures by Sheikh Awadi, Sham al-Awadi, and it's in English. You can also find it and benefit from it, inshallah. I can share this information with you at the end, inshallah. But let's go ahead and talk about, before we talk about the stories, we talk about the scene and the characters. The main characters raising a strong generation, the prophetic way. So you're talking about children and you're talking about the Prophet ﷺ. You will see a lot of those Sahaba companions around Muhammad ﷺ, but some of them will play a key role in narrating a lot of hadith and giving us a lot of stories and work like cameras, as Sheikh Awadi said, like cameras that are rolling all the time to record all the actions, sayings, gestures of the Prophet ﷺ. So it was basically those kids, much more than the elder, believe it or not, much more than Abu Bakr or Umar, that transmitted this legacy of the Nabi ﷺ. We will focus on a few of them. One of them, if you can probably think of, is Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik is going to be a key character with us today. He will narrate a lot of the stories and he will give us a lot of dimensions from how Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam dealt with the kids. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu was a little child, and his mom brought him to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam very young. In some narrations he was 8 years old, stronger narration he was 10 years old. And she said, Ya Rasulullah, everybody brought you a gift. When he came to Medina, Anas is from Medina, he's not from Mecca, he's not going to mention anything about Mecca. Everything, everybody's bringing you gifts, but I can't think of anything better than my child. Think about it. He is here, he will serve you, he will stay with you. She is dedicating the time of her child, Anas radiallahu anhu, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he will stay with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 10 years. The next 10 years, Anas will be watching the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam so closely. And he will give us a lot of dimensions that we probably would not otherwise see from the life of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is Anas ibn, and he would live so long, over 100 years after the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He died at year 91 or 92, which is like he lived for 80 years after the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will be there for 80 years after the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, passing on his legacy, talking to generations after him about how he was sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and literally taking Islam to the next generation. The next character with us, this is Anas ibn Malik. How did he live? How long did he live with the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? 10 years. The next character today is Abdullah ibn Umar. Umar ibn Khattab, everybody knows about him. But Abdullah, his son, he's famous, he's a scholar, but not as famous as his father. Abdullah ibn Umar, he accepted Islam. He was very young when he accepted Islam in Mecca time. He's from Mecca. And he accepted Islam even before his father, according to some narrations. Before Umar accepted Islam, it was his son who accepted Islam before him. And in some narrations, not as strong. Later on, when Umar radiallahu anhu was sitting with his son Abdullah ibn Umar, and he's remembering, the past, and he says, how come you accept Islam and you know the truth and you are hiding this from me? And he used to kind of, poke him or something. So Abdullah ibn Umar is there. He will be with the Prophet ﷺ. Basically, the time of Mecca, he was not so close to him. It was harsh for everybody in Mecca. When they migrated to Medina, he would be so close to the Prophet ﷺ and just walking with him everywhere, wherever he goes. And that's why he will end up giving us a lot of legacy from the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was born a couple of years, 3 or 4 years after the Ba'athah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. After the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam before the Ba'athah, before the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam becomes a prophet, so he accepted Islam. He was pretty young, like 7, could be 8 years. It's not, you don't have a strong narration to give us the exact timing, but he accepted Islam very, very young, and even before his father did. When you read about this in the books of Sirah, Sirah A'lam al-Nubala, and those big books talking about the Sahaba, they will mention something about Abdullah ibn Umar, for example, al-Imam, al-Qudwa, the role model, the Imam, the example. Actually, he begins as a child, and this is a dimension that we will focus on today. He was one of the biggest scholars, and then he used to give fatwa later on when he grew up. But we're just focusing now on the early stages of making or building that giant. This is the second character today. And we will move on to Abdullah ibn Abbas. Keep those names. Abdullah ibn Abbas. Abbas, his father, is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was so young. And Abdullah ibn Abbas was known to be one of the very important leading scholars of Islam. According to the Nabi ﷺ himself, he said, Abdullah is Habr al-Ulama, or Habr al-Ummah. This is a well-versed scholar. And believe it or not, give it a guess. How long did Abdullah ibn Abbas spend time with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Any guess? How long? To become very famous in tafsir, mufassir, tarjuman al-Quran, translator of the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ would say, this is the Sultan, this is the Habr, the well-versed scholar. How long do you think it takes a child? 28? 20 years? No.
It's very close, his age, very close to the Prophet.
Abdullah ibn Abbas, not al-Abbas. He was very young, but 10 years, okay. 8 years. Anybody would give it a guess? 5 years? 3 years. You wouldn't believe it. Yes, it was around 2 years. 30 months to be specific. 30 months that he spent with the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Even though he accepted Islam before, it was only because his father Abbas was in Mecca, did not migrate to Medina, did not accept Islam. Some narration mention he accepted Islam in Mecca, but he did not make hijrah. He stayed with his father, as a young child, until his father later on, Al-Abbas, the cousin of the Prophet, made Hijrah, the year of Al-Fath, which is 8th year of Hijrah, just 2 years before the death of the Prophet ﷺ, 2.5 years. And this is when he moved to Medina. And from that time on, he is with the Prophet ﷺ, literally day and night. And one example, one hadith, one night that he spent in the house of the Prophet ﷺ will unreveal a lot of dimensions from the life of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did he do at night? How did he pray? How did he do, the night? How did he spend it sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So 30 months were enough for that child, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, to be a scholar later on. But he did not learn only from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What he skipped and missed from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was with Umar and Abu Bakr learning from them, and everybody else who took from the Prophet ﷺ, he made sure later on that he will take that and then pass it on to the next generation. Abdullah ibn Abbas. And then his brother, Al-Fadl ibn Abbas, his older brother, was still young. Fadl ibn Abbas, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, and he will have a few incidents with the Nabi ﷺ, but he was so young. He made Hajj. The only Hajj that the Prophet ﷺ did is towards the end of his life. Al-Fadl was with him, and he was pretty young. Close to the teenage, but he was still young. And we will mention an incident that he was looking at a girl in Hajj, and the Prophet ﷺ was trying to turn his face. He was a young person at this time, as we will mention. This is Al-Fadl ibn Abbas. And finally, Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Ja'far is the cousin, is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. Abdullah is his cousin. Abdullah was the first one to be born in Habasha. Muslims migrated to Habasha, Abyssinia, Ethiopia first. During the time of Mecca, Prophet ﷺ was not with them. And then, Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina. And then those who were in Habasha and Abyssinia, when Islam had a state and place and everything, they came back to him. Abdullah ibn Ja'far, his father, migrated to Al-Habasha. So he was in Ethiopia all of that time. Even though Muslims had a place in Medina and everything, they were happy there. They were living their life, peaceful and everything. Even though it was not a Muslim country, it was the ruler back then was a Najashi. According to some narration, he was a Muslim, but it was predominantly Christian country. But they were living a free life, practicing, the religion, freedom, everything. Even though the Prophet ﷺ is in Medina, they did not right away move to Medina until the 8th year of Al-Hijrah. They migrated. So he was born in Abyssinia. He was born in the Hijrah in the Habasha. And then he moved with his father to Al-Madinah at year 8. So he got also like a couple of years with the Prophet ﷺ. He called him in the last 2 years of his life. ﷺ. Let's move on. Those are our characters in here. Starting with the ayat, the Quran itself. We see Prophet Ibrahim is making the dua to his offspring, to himself and his children. رَبَّنَا وَاجْعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ لَكَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِنَا أُمَّةً مُسْلِمَةً لَكَ. Oh Allah, make us submit to you, and of our springs, children, make them also submit to you, a nation that submits to you. رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ. Make another dua, oh Allah, make me establish salah. وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. And make my children, ذُرِّيَّة, offspring, do the same. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Oh Allah, give me of the righteous. It's coming again and again in the Quran. رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ. We read so many du'as in the Quran that gives us an idea that it's important not just to focus on yourself. If prophets are focusing on those who are around them, focusing on making dua even before having children, to have children, that shows us it's a very important topic to consider. Jumping to the tarbiyah itself. Tarbiyah, or the process of building, we will look into a quick definition of Al-Asfahani, one of the scholars. He defines tarbiyah as, and I will mention that in Arabic, and then touch on it in English, إنشاء الشيء حالا فحالا إلى حد التمام. To build something, to establish something gradually, on stages, until it becomes full. This is the process of tarbiyah. So you are starting from beginning, and you're going gradually until something is full. Just like the process of building. This nice building that we are in here, it did not come just overnight. You have to put the foundation, and you have to give it time, and design even before that, and planning before that, and then gradually it becomes becomes as it is right now. So it is, think about tarbiyah, or raising children as a building process. We're gonna talk about this a lot. So it is a building process. Take your time. Take your time. Sometimes we expect that we're gonna pass, we're gonna upload, like a flash drive. Take that from us, upload the Quran to their mind. Upload the adab, the ethics to their mind. It doesn't work this way. Give it some time. Give it some time. And then it's a process that begins but it never ends. Your role, your turn as a father, as a parent, probably comes to an end at a certain level, but then you are handing over the process of building to them. So once they reach the age of puberty, you give them the basics. You taught them the essential things, and then they will continue later on. They will take it from there. It's not like they are perfect, now they become angels. No. You teach them, and then you hand over them the process of tarbiyah that they will continue, be watchful to Allah, look at how to improve, how to develop themselves. So it's a process that begins but never ends as long as they are alive. You do your part by investing in them, but then hand it over to them. We will look into the Prophet ﷺ, how he deals with kids, focusing from the time they are born up until they become adults. That's going to be our main focus for today. Think about it like that. A child is a diamond or a gem that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you. That's what it is. And Imam al-Ghazali, I would like to quote Imam al-Ghazali as saying, go back. He said, الصبي أمانة عند والديه. A child is an amana that Allah has given you. This is a trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. It's not just like a burden. It's not something that you have to worry about. No, it is an amana. It is an amana. It's not a burden, rather an amana. And he said, وَقَلْبُهُ الطَّاهِرُ جَوْهَرًا. The pure heart and essence of that child is just like a pure diamond. He said it's like jawhara, a diamond. وَهُوَ قَابِلٌ, and it's open to anything that you can put in there. قَابِلٌ لِكُلِّ مَا نُقِشَ عَلَيْهِ. You can pretty much put anything in there. You can put your touch. That's how a child is in reality. Allah created everybody on fitra, pure, not knowing what's right, what's left, what's right, what's good, what's bad, you teach them. You take them whichever way that you like. And then قال فإن عود الخير وعلمه نشأ عليه. So if the child is told goodness and the right way, he will get used to it and he will become good. وإن عود الشر وأهمل إهمال البهائم شقي وهلك. But if you teach him the wrong way, get him to used to bad habits, that's how you're going to be like. Or if you neglect him completely, same thing. Don't expect to neglect something. Before this building happened, same process, same thing. If you just leave it, it's going to be bushes and grass everywhere. A building's not going to go up by itself. You have to take it gradually and invest in it and give it time and do some work so you see that final product in there. And he said, وَكَانَ الْوِزْرُ فِي رَقَبَةِ وَالِدَيْهِ. And if that happens, if you ignore him and neglect him and not invest on this diamond, pure diamond, then you're going to be sinful actually. You're going to see the consequences of that. Moving on quickly to, we talked about the building process. A building process would need a builder, a murabbi, somebody to take care of that. Best murabbi is Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he gave us some example for a successful murabbi. Before I talk about the process itself, let me talk about who is a successful builder. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam give us a few things in here. Number one thing is al-hilm wal-ana in Arabic, which is be forbearant and be patient. Be patient. Hilm, you have to be halim. Allah Azza wa Jalla is halim himself. He sees people disobeying him, but yet he is halim. Subhanallah. Be halim. Take your time. Be patient. Al-hilm wal-ana. Give an example from the time of the khulafa. One of the khulafa, Al-Ma'mun, he had one of the servants, a little boy, and he said, Ya ghulam, oh boy, come on. One time, 2 times, 3 times. The ghulam, the little boy, is not answering. And then when he answered, he said, أَمَا يَنْبَغِي لِلْغُلَامِ أَنْ يأكل ويشرب كلما خرجنا من عندك تصيح يا غلام يا غلام. Do you think that the ghulam, the little boy, doesn't have time to eat and drink? Every time I leave you, you call me, oh boy, come on. He's talking to who? To his servant and to the Khalifa. Somebody who works, who is hired to do work for the Khalifa and a little boy, and this is how he is talking to the Khalifa. And then somebody was with him, he had a guest with him. And the guest expected, he said, he's the one, Abdullah ibn Tahir, the guest, he's the narrator of that. He said, I just expected the Khalifa to explode, and that's going to be the end of the war, somehow. But he didn't do anything. He just looked at the Khalifa, and when he looked at his guest, and he said, Ya Abdullah, inna rajula iza hassana akhlaqahu, sa'at akhlaqu khadimi. When you become good, when you have good character, usually people around you would not respect you much, would not pay much attention to you. But you know what? That's what he said. I am not going to lose my akhlaq, my manners, to improve the manners of someone else. So in order to discipline him, I have to yell at him and, probably hit him or something. But I don't do that. I don't want to lose my akhlaq. I better keep my akhlaq, my manners, and I don't want to lose them to fix his akhlaq. This is one example. And there, before we get to the beautiful example of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Number 2 of the characteristics of a successful builder, he should be patient, he should be forbearing, and he should be rafiq al-rifq, which is being soft, being lenient. Take it easy. You're dealing with kids, with diamonds. Al-rifq. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told Aisha radiallahu anha, Ya Aisha, his wife, إِنَّ إِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِأَهْلِ بَيْتٍ خَيْرًا دَلَّهُ عَلَى بَابِ الرِّفْقِ. ارفقي يا عائشة, be lenient, Aisha, be soft, take it easy. That's generally speaking, with everybody. Because if Allah wants goodness for a household, He will show them how to be soft, how to deal, how to take it easy with everything as far as running their affairs. So, and he was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, likewise dealing with everybody around him. You see Al-Hasan al-Hussein, he mentioned all of these stories. Jumping in his back as he is praying, very famous story. They were just riding over his back, and he's in Jama'ah in the masjid. We know, we have problems with kids and everything. We're going to talk about adab and ta'deeb. But that happened in the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the Sahaba, after he finished the salah, somebody said, Rasulullah, it will take too long for sujood. What happened? And he said, this little son of mine, he said, he was riding over my back. And I hate, if I move, he will fall down. And then Abu Hurairah, he said, shall I take him home? Let me take him to his mother. He said, no, keep him. That's what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Keep him. He's okay. That's how lenient he was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's not to say, give them ultimate freedom to do whatever they want in the masjid. No, but just focusing on the dimension of a rif. Take it easy, if you want to be a successful murabbi, inshallah. And think about it this way. The Prophet ﷺ, with all the children, was easygoing. Look it up. See how he deals with any child around him, alayhi salatu wassalam. One time, a group of people are coming from a different, far distant place in Arabia to learn their religion. Most of them are youth, very young. Some of them are actually children. They are learning from the Prophet ﷺ. They spent a couple of weeks with him. 20 days, around 20 days with him. And then it was the Prophet ﷺ, according to the hadith, the narrator of the hadith, this young person, he said, وَنَحْنُ شَبِيبَةٌ مُتَقَارِبُونَ. We were young people, almost same age. And then, and Nabi ﷺ felt this voice saying, he felt that it's been a while that we've been away from our families. And he said, are you longing to your families? I think you are probably thinking of your families and your to go back home. Now it's time to go back and teach them what you learned from me. فَعَلِّمُوهُمْ وَمُرُوهُمْ, and teach them how to pray at this time, at the times that I told you to pray in. And if times of salah comes, then he told them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was feeling everybody around him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was not there, no, spend more time and learn from me and take everything. No, he was feeling, he was so sensitive, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he told, Allah told us in the Quran, al-mal wal-banuna zinatul hayat ad-dunya. Money and children, they are the zinat, the ornament of life. So just think about it this way. If you have a good child, you invest in him and her, or her, and then later on you see fruits, you see that coming up, unfolding, a very good person, mashallah. You have a glad tidings from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that even if you die, after you die, there will be an extension for you. After the son of Adam, the child of Adam dies, everything is cut off from this life except for three things. And one of them is walad salih yad'u lahu, a righteous child that will make dua for him. So even if you die from here, you invest in your child, your life continues. Subhanallah. Allah says in Surah Al-Kahf, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا, talking about those boys that Allah sent two prophets, Sayyidina Musa and Khadr, alayhim as-salam, to build the jidar, the wall for them. Why? Because their father was righteous. He invested well in them. And according to the tafsir, some tafsir, it was not the immediate father of them, it was the seventh grandfather. So be good, your children later on will be good, your dhurriya inshallah will be good, and that will come to you. You will get a share of that. And think about it also this way, it's a competition with shaitan. From the time that everybody is born, shaitan pokes him, as in the hadith, and it's competition. And it's in the Quran. From even before anybody is born. Alright, the conversation with Allah, he said, you created Adam, you prepared him to me. And then he showed rebelliousness to Allah. And then he asked Allah, give me time until the day of judgment, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to take him, and I'm going to do my best to take his children, the children of Adam, with me to the hellfire. That's what he says. That's what paraphrasing of the meaning of the ayah. So you either leave this child for shaitan to show him ways and get to him, or you invest in him from the very beginning. And it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a blessing from Allah. Think about how many people do not have children and how much money they spend and how much suffering they go through just to get a little baby. And we all know that. It is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I like what Shaykh Yasir Qadi says. He said, if kids are blessings, then their mother is the mother of the blessings. So think about it this way also. Your wife is the mother of the blessings. Your kids are blessings, and the mother is likewise. It is an addition not only to, let me go back to that. It's an addition not only to the immediate household, but to the community as well, isn't it? It's an addition to the community that the entire community, according to Islam, celebrate. You make aqiqah, you invite everybody. This is a new member of the community, not only of our family. And everybody is happy, and you make ceremony. That's how it is in Islam. We have rights for the kids. Do not expect me to talk about all the rights, but just to talk about the headline of the rights, and from the very beginning of their life, they have rights. One right is to choose a good name that's suitable for their time. Scholars will talk about being short, having a good meaning, this and that. They have rights. Oh, when they are 6 years old, 7 years. No, choose a good name from the very beginning. And in Islam, they have right to breastfeed. In the Quran, even in the case of divorce, Allah is talking in the Quran that that mothers should continue after divorce to nurse their children for 2 years if they want to take the entire, full period of nursing. So Allah is talking about this, and in case of divorce, that's what should happen. And He gives the mother the right of hadana, custody, because the child needs mother more than anybody else at this time. But at the same time, He is giving the father haqq al-wilaya, the right of guardianship. She takes him, like he stated, he spends time with her in case of divorce, but the father is the one to the final say where should we, as far as any decision regarding the baby, he has this right. She has the custody right, he has the right for guardianship. And you can imagine how many rights there are on. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the beginning is telling us to choose a good name, the Prophet is telling us to choose a good name, and to talking about things like breastfeeding and what have you, then you can imagine how many rights will come down the road, and we are all aware of that. Let me start with a quick quotation from Sheikh Muhammad al-Khidr Hussein, one of the grand Imams of Al-Azhar back in the 50s, 40s, and 50s. He said a beautiful quotation that I have to stop by for a couple of minutes. He said, لا يدري كثير من الناس أن الطفل واحد من رجال الأمة. Many people are not aware that a child is actually one of the giants of this ummah, of his nation somehow. He said, إِلَّا أَنَّهُ مُسْتَتِرٌ بِثِيَابِ الصِّبَةِ. The only thing is that he is hidden under the curtains of being young. He is hidden this is a giant. Look at your child. This is probably the president, the next president of the United States in 30, 40, 50 years or something. This is one of the inventors. This is an astronaut in here. This is a physician. He is one of the giants of his nation. Only thing is he's young. He is hidden under the curtains of being young. And he said, فَلَوْ كُشِفَ لَنَا عَنْهُ مَا هُوَ كَامِنٌ تَحْتَهَا لَرَأَيْنَاهُ وَاقِفًا فِي مَصَافِ الرِّجَالِ. If those curtains, if a miracle happened and those curtains will be just taken off, you will see who he is. Think about it, subhanAllah. Think about yourself. Anybody who played, we didn't know who would be. And then, subhanAllah, you have your position, you have your place. This is how it's going to be with your child. So if those curtains are to be taken off completely, you will see. You will see this is a president, this is a minister, this is a successful person, businessman, worker, what have you. And he said, لكن جرت سنة الله ألا يتفق زوال تلك الأسطار في التربية إلا بالتربية شيئا فشيئا. But the rule of Allah is that those curtains that are hiding this giant are not to be taken off completely at once. The sunnah, the way of Allah, they will be taken one by one, gradually. And how to take those off is through tarbiyah, through building. Build him up, he would learn letters. And then he would learn words, and he moves on, and then he would take science, he will move on to the elementary, then the middle, then he's growing up, learning how to deal with the society, learning more and more skills that he will become gradually something. ولا تؤخذ إلا السياسات الجيدة على وجه التدريج. So he said that process happens only in a gradual form. So he's a giant in the making. Quickly coming to the ways of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how did he build? What are the strategies of him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam raising children? We will basically look at the strategies that he will, essential strategies for tarbiyah, for the process of building. He will give us some strategies for the psychology of the child. He will give us strategies how to build even the body of the child and the health of the child, and so many other strategies. The first strategy that we will talk about, strategies of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we'll talk about the asalib al-tarbawiyya, or those ways for parents to pay attention to, general strategies to pay attention to in the process of tarbiyah. So those are for parents and builders from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. General strategies. Number one thing in the strategy is to lead by example. You can teach and preach all day. None of that is going to work until you practice it, until you show the child how it works. Let me show you a quick video in here. Do we have connection to the internet? You will see how, and that's probably something that everybody notices in his life. You will see how children copy and imitate. Not locate the internet server. Is that also here? So lead by example. I have a link to the YouTube video, you can get it, please. So your child will literally follow your steps. You go right, he will go right. You shout, he will shout. You become calm, he will become calm. He will just, especially in the beginning, he will tend to copy everything, consciously and unconsciously. Even without you meaning to give him tarbiyah, without you meaning to do this process. Come on, let me teach you something. You think that this is tarbiyah? No. Even while you're talking to his mother, you're talking to your wife, you're talking to your friends, he is picking up. He is collecting stuff. He sees you telling lies on the phone. He sees you getting angry in the streets, shouting at somebody. He is picking up. Consciously and subconsciously, this is the reality of it. So you better watch Actually, you are making tarbiyah to him, you are building him, and in the meantime, he is kind of helping you build yourself. Like you have to watch yourself right now because my child is looking at me. If it doesn't work, it's not a problem. I think it's hard. No, okay, no problem. All right. How to give advice? How to generally, we said first lead by example. Another general strategy is to choose the right time and right context to do that. Choose a good time. Child made a problem or made a mistake or something, and then, come on, let me teach you, and you're yelling at him. Do you think that this is the best context for him to learn? Maybe not. Choose the best of times, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was always giving advice when? Believe it or not. It was not during the halaqah in the masjid. He was not having a session with the kids on certain times to teach them. That was not it. I'm not aware of it. But he used to give advice and teach and make tarbiyah and build when? While eating, while walking, while he's having some kind of a walk with the kids in the street. He sees somebody like Abdullah ibn Abbas. He said, I was riding one of our giants characters. He will first appear now. He is riding behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كنت رديف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I was riding behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why would the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam take a child and make him ride with him and walk? It's just a little child. Go to your father. I'm busy with something. No, he's taking him into a walk. And then he said, Ya ghulam. Oh boy. Ghulam is kind of, compassionate word. Oh little boy. إني أعلمك كلمات. I'm going to teach you a very, very important words in here. Very important words. احفظ الله. Very famous hadith. Protect Allah. Or, be vigilant of Allah. Allah is watching always over you. And Allah will do the same to you. احفظ the long hadith. We will come to it later on. But he was riding, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously not a car, he was riding on his camel or donkey or something, and then this boy was riding behind him, little boy, and now he's teaching him. Could be riding a car. And, you see something, and this is the right time to talk about it. Talk about it. And use and utilize that. Could be camping, could be fishing, you could be doing something, just the time will come up. Use it and utilize it. Not only, it's good to send the child with the Imam and to the masjid, that's good. I'm not saying nothing bad in that. But the main process is going to happen by you, parents. You spend, and you're supposed to spend most of the time with them. You see them sleeping, waking up. You see them making mistakes. You see them moving. You are with them while you're driving. Utilize all of these chances and always make sure to choose the best time to teach like Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. One day, other day, it was not only an individual case. Another time he was driving, and behind him this time is Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Another giant, another child, little child. And then he said what? كنت خلف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يوما فأسر إلي حديثا لا أحدث به أحدا من الناس. I was riding right behind him, and he told me a secret. I'm not going to tell it to anyone. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, let me tell you a secret. So he trusted him. It's a secret that he is keeping. So he felt so proud, and now he's growing, and he's getting old, and he's talking about this proudly. I was one day behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told me, he said, you know what, I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody about it. And he told him, this thing. He didn't even say what is the secret, but that was the incident right there. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would utilize the time of the food. We all know the hadith, Ya ghulam, sammi Allah, wa kul biyaminika, wa kul mimma yalik, right? So that happens while they were eating. They were eating. Amr ibn Abi Salama is with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he saw him eating and going right and left and picking this. Here we see that. Well, sure, they are hungry. They're coming from school. Where's the food? Let me see that. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya ghulam, oh boy, sammi Allah. When you're about to eat, say Bismillah, wa kul biyamini, with your right hand, wa kul mimma yalik, and then eat what's right in front of you. Don't go like everywhere. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, easy, teaching the child, and it was the child himself later on who was narrating this proudly. He said, when I was young, that happened, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told me to do such and such, and he was taking it. It happens many times. Another long hadith that the lady invited the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and many companions with them, they all came with their little children. And then he mentioned a lot of details about it, but the point is, he was there with them at the time of food, and he mentioned that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave advices to everybody around him during that time, at food time. He would also utilize the time of visiting. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, believe it or not, he had, Anas ibn Malik was serving him along with another boy. This boy was a Jewish boy, was serving the Prophet, young Jewish boy, serving the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And one day he got sick. And the Prophet ﷺ went along with Anas ibn Malik, another boy, to visit him. You can imagine. He's walking with children, with Anas, taking him, teaching him things without even talking. That you have to visit others, you have to care for others. He went to this ghulam and he visited him, and he talked about other stuff while he was there. So it could be while visiting or while, do we visit children? No. Ask about them, visit them. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was going, taking of his time to visit that child when he was sick. So choose the best of time and the best of context to do the building because it will work much more effective than you just give it in a form of preaching or something. One of the general strategies, number 3. So number 1, what was number 1 again? General strategies? Lead by example. Number 2. What was it again? Choose a good time. You are making a building process. You are building, so choose the good time for this process to happen. And number 3, be fair. Equality. Be fair. Sometimes, unconsciously, we do things that's not fair. And we hear it a lot, that's not fair, that's not fair. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is paying attention to this. He's paying attention to even kissing. He's giving that in the hadith, if you are to kiss your kids, make sure you kiss them all the same, give them the same, kind of attention as far. So, do not kiss that, but then ignore the other one. One day, he's sitting, and then he was visiting somebody, or somebody was visiting him, and this man has a boy, a little boy. He came all the way, and then he got him, he seated him on his lap. This guest of the Prophet ﷺ. And then the girl, the daughter of that man, came, and he put her next to him. Received him everything. But then he said, مَا عَدَلْتَ بَيْنَهُمَا. You didn't do, you were not fair to them. One of them is sitting in your lap, and the other one just at your side. So, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, you didn't pay attention to it. That's what he's saying, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in other words. You don't pay attention to it, but listen, they watch that. It's as little as that. As how, like, you kiss them or how you deal them, you give them attention, especially girls, probably, that's my own words here. They will pay attention to the deepest details of things. You know what, my dad, last week or last whatever, you did that. Fine details, they pick it up. So you have to make sure that you use this strategy. Sayyidina Yaqub is a prophet, and he was not really meaning to pay attention more, give more attention to that boy or that boy, but that's what ended up happening. And his children are good by nature, but they ended up seeing that Yusuf, أَحَبُّ إِلَىٰ أَبِينَا مِنَّا, he's dearer to his father than us. And then see what they ended up doing. They ended up taking him and plotting everything, to kill him and to push him away. And we know the story of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. That's what it can lead to. One day a person, Nu'man, Bashir, the father of Nu'man. Nu'man is a young boy. He came to the Prophet and said, can you be my witness? I have a contract in here, and can you just sign as a witness here? And he said, what is it? He said, I am giving this kind of nihla, this gift, to my child. And then the Prophet asked the question, that's not your business, Ya Rasulullah. You just sign here as a witness. I am giving this gift to my child. He said, did you give all your children the same? He said, no. He said, this is injustice, and go find someone else to sign. I'm not going to be witness for that. So he's paying attention to the deepest details, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But pay attention to something. Equality does not mean that you have to You have to be identical in everything that you give them. Because sometimes one child, for a reason or another, could need more attention. Look at this and think about it. Equality does not mean justice. This is equality. Okay? You have three boxes in there, and you have three children. One of them is taller, and one of them is not as tall. So if you give everybody one box, that's equality. But that's not fair for all of them. But if you give everybody what he or she deserves, maybe girls would need more of passion. Boys would need more of play time, whatever it is. So make sure you are making justice, not just equality in the sense of giving. You might have a child who is younger, the other one is older, so the younger might need more help, the younger might need more attention. There is no problem in that as long as the intention is not to really, not planning to be unfair to anybody. Give kids the rights, that's number 4. And we see the Prophet ﷺ is listening to kids all the time. One time, there was a session, and he got some drink. And the session is like that. Nabi ﷺ is here. The little boy is next to him on his right side. And then there are so many elderly, like big babas and ammus and everybody. Then the Prophet ﷺ was, handing over the drink to the one next to him. Usually the sunnah is to go from the right. Who is the first one who is right? The little child. But the Prophet ﷺ also would, respect the elder. Usually he would start with the elder. Then he addresses the boy. He said, "Ata'dhanu li." Do you give me permission to give drink to the older people first? قال ما كنت لأوثر أحدا بنصيبي منك يا رسول الله. He said, "No. Ya Rasulullah, sorry, I can't do that. I am not going to give this honor to drink right after you. I'm not going to give this honor to anyone else." فَدَلَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. The Prophet ﷺ gave him the drink. Okay, he said, okay. So give him his right, not because he's young, that you don't ask him permission, you don't ask his opinion. Let me take you to the park. What kind? Give him his right. And Sister Hiba later is going to talk about the 5 languages of love, right? So you tend to take him to this specific park, but maybe he doesn't want to go to this park. He wants to go somewhere else. Give him his right that, he should have an empathy and you should be able to listen to him like the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam listened to him. Not only the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abu Hanifa, the great scholar. One day he's walking, everyone knows Abu Hanifa, and he saw a little boy and he said, إِيَّاكَ وَالسُّقُوطِ فِي الطِّينِ. There was little mud and he said, beware of the mud. Don't fall into the mud. And then the young little boy, he said, إِيَّاكَ أَنْتَ وَالسُّقُوطِ. You beware not to fall. فَإِنَّ سُقُوطَ الْعَالِمِ سُقُوطَ عَالِمِ. Because if one scholar falls, an entire world would fall. And then Abu Hanifa said, who is that? And he was literally, the narration mentioned that he was literally kind of overwhelmed by the nasiha and thinking about it for days. Oh my God, yeah, he's right. When you say something, up until, that's what the little boy meant, up until 2015, some people are talking about Abu Hanifa, and big countries and so many, big number of Muslims are following Abu Hanifa as madhab. So that the child is saying, you beware. If I fall into the mud, this is nothing, but if you fall, if you make a mistake, there are so many people who are looking at you and they are going to copy you. So he was listening to this and he was there for days. Give them the rights. So many stories when a Khalifa, in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, for example, a group of people came to give him Pledge of Allegiance. And they have an envoy, a spokesperson to talk for them. And guess what? He was very young. And Umar ibn Abdul Aziz looking at him. And he said, don't you have anybody who's older than him? And then what did the boy say? He said, Umar قال أنا وجد القوم من هو أسن منك ليتكلم. Nobody is older than you to talk. قال يا أمير المؤمنين. Oh, chief of the believers, commander of the believers. Respect. لو كان الأمر في كبر السن لكان من هو أكبر منك في مقامك هذا. If it's by age, probably you will not be there. Khalifa, because there are so many people who are older than you. It's not by age. And then he gave a khutbah. Umar told him, "Ilmi, give me nasiha, advise me." And he gave him a beautiful, long, not very long, beautiful nasiha that at the end Umar was crying. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was crying from that. And this is a real incident in Tanzania. This boy, I listened to some of his footballs, it's on YouTube. Beautiful. He, 5,000 people, a boy 5 years old converts 10,000 people to Islam in Tanzania. So give them the rights and listen to them, and you can find a giant in there. One day, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam appointed somebody who is as young as 7 years old, Amr, to be the Imam of his people. Why? Because he's the most qualified person. He knows Quran more than anyone else. That's what he's not even an adult, but he would lead the salah for his people because he's qualified to that. If he is qualified to do something, pay attention to that and do not just ignore them because they are young. Finally, make dua to your kids. Resort to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you that power. To the entire family. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not make dua against the mushrikeen, ala al-mushrikeen. When they, persecuted him and got him out of Mecca, and he went to Al-Taif and they pushed him out. And then, at the end, he never made dua against them. Why? He said, إِنِّي لَأَرْجُو أَنْ يُخْرِجَ اللَّهُ مِنْ أَصْلَابِهِمْ. I am hoping that Allah will get out from those people, a generation, children, that would worship Him alone. Why? He did not make dua against them. If they are gone, that means, that's it. Like Nuh alayhi salam did, رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ دَيَّارًا. Oh my Lord, take them all, punish them all. Fine. 950 years calling them, nobody's responding, few people. But the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is caring for the children. He's actually making dua for the children who will come from them. And that was clear. Anas will bring Anas to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and say, Ya Rasulullah, make dua for him. And he will make dua for him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Oh Allah, make him live long, give him long life, give him a lot of money, give him a lot of children, and he got all of that. Many incidents that many people will be bringing their kids for Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to make dua, and he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself said, you make dua for your children, and never make dua against your children. Dua al-walidi waladihi mustajab. Your prayer for your children is accepted. One of the dua that will be accepted, so utilize it in the positive way, not in the negative way. And the last two, so that was number 5, make dua to your kids. The last slide that we'll have before the break is help them be good to you. You want them to be good to you? Do not just keep telling them, be good to me. Make it easy for them. Teach them how to be good to you and make it easy for them to, the hadith, رَحِمَ اللَّهُ وَالِدًا أَعَانَ وَلَدَهُ عَلَى بِرِّهِ. May Allah have mercy on a parent who will make it easy for his son or his child to be beautiful and good to him. Make it easy for them. Show him ways how to be good to you. And number 7, the 7th general strategy is do not blame too much. Anas radiallahu anhu, the main character with us today, he's saying, I served the Prophet ﷺ for how long?
10 years.
For 10 years. He's serving him, spending time with him. He never, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he never said, for something that I did not do, why didn't you do? Or for something I do, why did you do? He never blamed him. He did something wrong. فَمَا لَا مَنِي, in another narration, he never blamed me, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And even if فَإِنْ لَا مَنِي أَحَدٌ مِنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ قَالَ دَعُوهُ فَلَوْ قُدِّرَ كَانَ. If somebody, usually I'll make mistakes as a child, sometimes when I make a mistake, his family, his wife or something would blame me, he said, do not blame him. If Allah destined this to happen, it would have happened. Which means like, it's too late now, don't blame him, leave him alone. So never, don't keep blaming your child, don't blame too much. We will take, inshallah, now a quick break, and after we're coming from the break, we continue with intellectual strategies, and we'll talk about other strategies, how Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam invested in the children. It's going to be a 10-minute break, and we come back.
The restrooms are that way to your right.
Context from the dimension, like, if you look at somebody from that point, it's going to be different. Then you look at him from that point. They are giving us from the dimension of children. And that's most of the Islam. Aisha herself, we didn't talk about her, and this is a thing in here. And Nabi had a few girls around him. Aisha was so young, and much of what we have over Islam came to us because of Aisha and all of these young people around the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Moving on, we talked about the general strategies, lead by example, as the first point. Second point, as far as the general strategies, was what? Choose the good time to build. Process of building. Number 3, be fair. Be sensitive. Look at everything and all the details. Number 4,
Give them the rights. Give them the rights.
give them the rights. Listen to them. Take their opinion and things like that. Number 5, make a lot of dua to them. 6, you need to help them to be good to you. And number 7, do not blame too much. Maybe it's hard. One sister said, how come, we have sometimes, we are faced with some behavior. We're going to talk about the salib al-ta'dib, how to deal with different, things. But let's move to the next strategy Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam adopted, intellectual strategies. So how to invest in the child in terms of intellect. He mentioned a lot of stories. He told them stories, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not only teaching them, you have to do that, you have to learn that. No, he told them a lot of stories. You need to be the first person to tell stories to your child, to your children around you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us by telling us stories in the Quran. Actually, 1/3 of the Quran is stories. So you look into the life of Yusuf alayhi salam, life of Musa, this wife of Fir'aun, this lady, this man in the past, how they were successful. Or those who failed, why did they fail? And what is the wrong thing that they do? We learn from the qasas, the stories. وَكُلًّا نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الرُّسُلِ مَا نُثَبِّتُ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. Allah is talking to the Prophet, he's saying, basically, we give you the stories of those before you to make your heart strong. Give them the story of what we are faced now, right now, as we speak. And I'm not trying to disturb or anything. We had a little person, somebody made a little comment somewhere online. It's actually, disturbing us. He's against Muslims because of what happened in California. So we are faced with a lot of difficulties. So what did the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do when he is faced with something like that? We can learn from stories. Allah told the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam how to face all of these challenges through the stories of those before him. Story of Ashab al-Ukhdud. Uwais al-Qarni as an example, one of the very righteous people. And you go find that. Qissa Jurayj al-Abid, this person from the previous time. Ashab al-Ghar, the people of the cave, when they got trapped in the cave and what happened. And teach lessons from that. Qissa Sayyidina Ibrahim wa Ismail, story of Ibrahim alayhi salam with his son Ismail and his mother Hajar alayhi salam and what happened to them. Al-Aqra' wal-Abras, this story of the 3 people who were inflicted with different things. We read all of that in the books of the Hadith. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was teaching them through all of these stories. And Allah is teaching us also through stories. Number 2, be straightforward. We take our kids for granted. They should just get Islam just like we got it. They should get the right thing, how to deal with others and elders and how to behave in the library. Just they should take it. No, talk to them straight. You know what? And nice. Yeah, well, let me teach you something and be straight to the point. Give it as clear as, just clear, crystal clear to them. And most of the time, kids will learn it, will take it from there. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is talking to them. One day, in Ghazwat Badr, the enemies are coming to attack Medina from Mecca. He left Medina Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He left Mecca to them, came to Medina. They are coming all the way. Actually, things happen. A lot of details, we know what happened. And he was trying to figure out, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how many are those who are marching towards him from Mecca. So the Sahaba, they quote a ra'i, a young boy who was a shepherd for the enemies. They quote him. And they were kind of getting very harsh and even hitting him. How many are the army of your people? How many? And he said, I don't know. Young boy, he doesn't know. It's thousands, hundreds. He doesn't know. He doesn't really know. They got him to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ said, how many camels did they slaughter every day to eat? And he said, 10 camels. This is, 10 camels. He said, I got the answer. They are between 900. He said, 9 to 10 camels. The Prophet said, the people are between 900 and 1,000. Said, get down to his level. Keep telling him, how many is that? You don't know the solution. Make it easy for him. the child would not know probably thousands, hundreds and thousands. And they keep asking him, how many? I don't know, there's so many, but I don't have the exact number. They got him to the prophet, he said, how many did they slaughter? Yeah, this is I know, they slaughter every day to eat 10 camels, between 9 and 10 camels. One camel is enough. Arabs know that one camel is enough to feed 100 people. So the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, talked to him at his level and he got the answer. Simple, straightforward. So let's be always straightforward with our kids. Number 3, get to the kids' level. Get down to the level and understand how they think and get into the same thinking process of them. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, one day he had a little girl that she was born like Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Where? Abdullah ibn Ja'far was born where? Abyssinia. He was the child who was born there, and then his father took him to the Prophet, the cousin of the Prophet. She was one of those who were born to those who immigrated to Habasha, Abyssinia, Ethiopia at this time. She was a little girl. So she grew up in Abyssinia, and she was speaking basically a lot of Habasha words, a lot of Abyssinian language. And the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was talking to her, Ya Khalid. He saw her having a shirt, a new shirt, was yellowish and colorish and beautiful. He said, this is Sana. Hada Sana. Hada Sana. Sana in Arabic it means a year, but he meant something else, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sana in the Abyssinian language is beautiful. This is Jameel. So he was trying to contact her in something that she understands. Language that she grew up speaking. So we need to do the same thing. And then the story continues. This girl felt comfortable in the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's complimenting her. Whoa, how beautiful is that shirt that you're having? This is Sana in her language. And then she came and she kept playing with Khatam al-Nubuwwah. And the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had something here under his neck. That is the prophethood sign, which is kind of a birthmark, special birthmark, like a little ape, pigeon ape as it is described. And she was coming, interested, and she got to it, and he uncovered it, and she was playing with it. And the father said, stop, where are you going? What are you doing? And the Nabi said, it's okay. So he was complimenting the child, getting to her life, to her level, talking to her in something she understands, and letting her play, even though it looks to the dad like disrespectful. This is the prophet, what are you doing? No, it's okay, this is a child. For her, yes, prophet and everything, but I need to play. I mean, something interesting is catching my attention, no problem. So talk to them at their level. He never blamed Anas, little boy. One day he told him, Anas, you know what? Go get me something. Anas went out to get this thing the Prophet wanted. He saw some kids playing. What would he do? He just joined them and he forgot. We all know that, right? How many times did you have to tell your child something? Go get me this from the room, or go do your homework. He doesn't mean to ignore you. He just forgot and I need to play. Oh yeah. So that's fine. He's a child. Children are, not 100% focused. They probably will go to the room. You ask them many times. They send Huda, for example, or anybody from my case, to get me water. I'm working in the computer. Just give me water from the kitchen. She gets to the kitchen and she gets something for herself, plays, and then Huda, where's the water? Oh yeah, you asked for water. So she got to the kitchen and she probably got distracted with something else. That happens. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't blame him. What happened? And Nabi Sallallahu went out. Anas was late. And he said, Anas. He came from the back. Anas. And Anas turned around. Oh yeah, I remember. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was laughing, was smiling. He said, why didn't you go? He said, yeah, Rasulullah, yes, I'm just doing it right now. And he was laughing, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, nothing like he blaming or anything. That's fine. He understands that a child would sometimes forget, and he would just deal with him at his level. One day, the brother of Anas, the younger brother of Anas, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, every time he saw him, he has a little bird. And Nughayr is a bird, little bird. He always plays with it. One day he saw it without the bird and said, what happened to the bird? Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'ala Nughayr. He's not talking to him. Hey, come on, Umayr. You join us for Salah, what did you do? Get to his level. He's not going to talk about Islam and the pillars of Islam. He said, what happened to your bird? What happened to your toy? I usually see you with the Lego or something. What happened to the Lego that you were building? So talk to them at the same level. Get down to the level so they will, trust you more. Number 5, show him how. Many times we tell them, you need to do that. Go do your math homework. But how? Show me. Nabi Sallallahu one day he saw somebody, a young boy, he was skinning. That's what they used to do back then. They slaughtered an animal, little animal goat, and he was skinning it. He was doing it wrong. This is basic skill that anybody would do back then. But he saw it doing it wrong. He was doing a lot of mistakes. So Nabi Sallallahu he said, Da'ani weak. Let me show you. And he got unfold, and he got to it, and he showed him, this is how you do it. So sometimes you need to show them. Make your bed, make your room, but how? I'm not really good at it. So show them how to do things. And before that, communicate, not dictate. You need to communicate and have conversation with the child. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when this young boy came to Rasulullah, a teen, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, إِذَنْ لِي فِي الزِّنَا. I am asking permission to have adultery, illegal relationship with a girl. What? What are you talking about? No, he didn't say any of that. So it was that open that a young boy would come to Rasulullah and talk to him about something that's horrific. One of the major sins, he said, Rasulullah, I'm just coming to ask you to give me permission to do this and that. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what did he do? How did he reply to him? Take a story. He said, come on. Do you like this to happen to your mother? He said, no. He said, so everybody is likewise. Nobody likes this to happen to his mother. Do you like it to happen to your sister, to your aunt? He said, no, no. He said likewise. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he knows where he's coming from. This is a teenager, and he's thinking about that, and desire is there, and hormones are working. So he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he kind of tapped him, pat him, and he said, Allahumma ghfir dhanbah, wa tahhir qalbah, wa hassin farjah. Oh Allah, forgive his sin. Oh Allah, purify his heart. And oh Allah, protect his private parts. This very person, he is the same narrator of the hadith, he said, I left the session, or I left the majlis, the place, completely different person. When it was coming, I just was thinking about that, to get permission to do that. When it was leaving, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made dua and had conversation with him, I was completely a different person. And this is how he changed the course of his thoughts. We need to talk to our kids. We need to communicate with them. So, do we do that? We do a lot of these things, alhamdulillah, but we need to enhance, more. Talk to them, communicate with them, try to understand where they're coming from. What is the point? Maybe Abdullah, my son, for example, giving examples, he insisted to have Legos. And I have a problem with Legos because he plays and he leaves them everywhere, and they just get to they're everywhere in the house, basically. Black Friday, he said, you know what? If it's about money, I got some, we got all of these brochures and all of these discount things that are coming. There's a set here for whatever. It's very cheap, Then I was thinking, oh man, I told him many times, I can get you anything in the world, but not this. I hate it. It didn't work with him. Every time he's saying, yeah, see, this is probably, if you're thinking because money, this is very cheap in here. And sometimes he go buys it from other kids in the masjid, whatever. So, I tried probably, I didn't mean to do it this way, but subhanAllah, I just thought about it. I saw a lot of other toys. I don't have a problem with toys. I told him, you know what, I can bring you this. And it's even, price is high, no problem. Do you think it's going to be better, but no Legos? He said, yes, okay, I'll get that. So, probably changing the strategy a little bit could work. If you say, no Lego, no toys, this and that, no, I really need it, but maybe give him an alternative. Could work. It worked in my case, at least. So, changes, communicate, do not dictate. No Legos, or you have to do it this way, or you have to. I'm not saying I'm the best builder. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm trying anyway. So, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was communicating, was listening, was talking to them. And we already talked about the man who was communicating with Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar was telling him, can you just get somebody who's older than him to talk? And he was listening to him, and he got back to him, and then at the end he said, give me an advice. Number 6, set an ultimate example. Kids at this time, I don't mean by setting an example to, yes, you have to show them example yourself, lead by example, but tie the child to a qudwa, a role model. Nowadays, we see our kids are going after what? Anything that comes in the media, anything in the community, in the society. If it's a toy, they make it examples, they make it figures for our kids. This is Thor, he can get this stick and he can control the thunder. This is Batman, this is Superman. And it's so effective, it gets to the mentality of the kids. I was in North Carolina before. Very good child, Umar, over there. He loves Superman to death. Everything for him is Superman. And now this is how unconsciously, it's a way of tarbiyah building. He would buy the sheets, his room, pictures, everything to be Superman. Until one day, they were living in an apartment in his second floor. No, actually it was a house. He got to a high place that's high, and he tries to fly like Superman. He got the things of Superman, and then he go, I'll fly. Was it Superman or Spider-Man? One of those. Anyone, he jumped from high, just like to be like the Superman. He broke his leg. He's good, alhamdulillah, and he's a teenager now. But this is how effective it gets. So instead, if we just shifted from Superman to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to one of those examples, talk about it a lot. You know what? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was also like a hero, alayhi sallam. If Superman can fly, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam can knock down anybody. He wouldn't usually do it, but somebody came and this is his language that he understands. He said, I can knock you down. All right, come on. And he said, if you knock me down, I'll accept Islam. That's the way I understand. He said, come on. He knocked him down. This person, unbeatable. It's nobody in the entire Arabia before wrestled with that person and knocked him down. It didn't happen. So he came to Rasulullah, you're a messenger, you should have miracle and strong and everything. I'll believe in you, I'll accept you if you knock me down. And he's thinking, if I tell him, no, it's not, this is not the way it works, he would not get it. Let me do it. He did it once, twice, thrice, 3 times he knocked him down. So you don't need to knock down your kids or anything, but the point is, communicate, get to the level of the language that they can understand. Show them how. Set an ultimate example for them. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is strong. He's a winner. He's a fatih of Mecca. When he was getting to Mecca, how did he conquer Mecca? And everybody's under him. And then what did he say? Go, all go. So you can find that example easy in Muhammad and Khalid and Walid and Bilal and Mu'adhin. All of these examples. Let's talk about them. We have nowadays some movies, and some stories not as effective, but you can find those stories and those movies to show the stories of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his kids, not necessarily as depicting him, but putting him in a context that those kids can understand. Those are 6 ways of intellectual strategies how to get to our kids. Now moving to another strategy, the psychological strategies of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Psychological strategies. Let's review the other strategies first. The intellectual strategies. Number 1 was stories. Talk to them. Tell them stories instead of khurafat, myth and mysteries and best-selling book is Harry Potter and this and that. Talk to them real stories from the giants of Islam. And number 2 was be straightforward. Talk to them straight. So that it's like that. Be straight, talk to them. It's not like, don't make it complicated for them. 3, get to their level. You're talking to them from high, up here. You need to do that, and this is the right way. No, get down to it. Sometimes the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would do it. He will come down to he would play with them. He would bend down, not in Salah. And other times he would get down and say, Hassan, Hussein, come on, right on. And then their father, Ali, he came and said, نعم وطيتكما, the best, you got the best ride ever, my children. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, the best, and I got the best for sand, the best, like nuts. Yes, I am the best matiyah, but they are the best to ride, to play and to be in top like fence. So that was number 3 or 4? 3, 4? Communicate with them. It's not one-way dictation. Do that. This is the rules of the house. Communicate with them.
Many times. Wallahi, I learn from my kids. I communicate with them, they come back to me, and they prove their point. Communicate with them. Number 5,
Show them how.
show them how. Yes, do that, do this, preach. Show them how. The sister was talking about, we teach them to be calm. Show them how to be calm. You be calm yourself. You are telling them about something, you practice it first and show them how to do it. Number 6, secondly, let them be attached to a good example. So when it will be easy for you to refer to something. Oh, you know what? Don't lie. See, Prophet ﷺ never lied. The Sahaba, that this example of you never lied. Because they need to be tied to that, attached to that. Number 7, 6 of them. We move now to the psychological strategies. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, number 1, he befriended the kids. He's not talking at 2 different levels. I'm the father, you are the children. I'm the prophet, you are the followers of the prophet. No, he was dealing with them like a friend. Abdullah ibn Ja'far is riding behind him, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling him a secret. We really said that. Abdullah ibn Abbas, when he comes, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he's outside Medina traveling, and then coming back, first people to receive him will be the kids. Oh, the prophet is here, prophet is here. One day it happened, and he got one in front of him and one behind him. Children all around him, they love him, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because not only because he's a prophet, they don't understand this much yet. Yes, he's a prophet, he's somebody, but he's a friend of mine. He usually, make me happy, make me laugh, and give me good things, so I'm always around him. He would walk with Anas. He's now going with Anas to visit another child, walking with him in the street, walking with Anas. One day, was it one of the Sahaba, Samurah? He was there after Salatul Dhuhr, everybody left, and he's just sitting in the masjid. And the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam moved, he moved with him. You're not going to go home? He said, no, I'm going to come with you, Ya Rasulullah. And that's what he said. I'm going to join you. He said, come on, let's go. And he went with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Fine. He doesn't want to go home. He doesn't want to just finish the salah and jump to the field outside to play, which is fine. He just wanted to be with his friend, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. As Zubayr also bin Awam, he was a friend of his Abdullah, his son. Umar, usually he goes anywhere, his son with him. Abdullah ibn Umar. And he was with a session, you all know the hadith in Bukhari and Muslim Sahih. He was in a session with the Prophet ﷺ when the Prophet ﷺ asked a question. He was talking to the men, to the elder people there. He said, إِنَّ مِنَ الشَّجَرِ شَجَرَةً هِيَ مَثَلُ الْمُسْلِمِ or مِثْلُ الْمُسْلِمِ. There is a tree. From amongst all the trees, there's one tree that's exactly like the Muslim. Anybody knows which tree is that? He asked this question. This is one of the strategies of teaching everybody, asking questions. Everybody was thinking, what trees? Is that the oak tree? Could be this tree? Whatever. فَوَقَعَ النَّاسُ فِي الشَّجَرِ. They thought it's a strange tree nobody knows about. It's some desert trees or something. And then Abdullah ibn Umar is there next to Umar. And then later on, they didn't know, and then the Prophet gave them the answer, it's the palm tree. It's always green, evergreen, everything about it is beneficial. The tamar, the dates that you get from it, the trunk is used for many things, the leaves, everything in it is useful, just like a Muslim. Wherever he goes, he's beneficial, he is good. Nobody knows the answer. When they came out, Abdullah, he's talking to his father, you know my dad? I knew the answer. He said, why didn't you say it? If you have said it, it would be the best for me. They said, Wallah, I know it, but when I looked at you, you're not talking. Abu Bakr, the other example of mine, doesn't know the answer. Nobody knows the answer. I didn't want to kind of show off. But you are, elder people are not talking, so who am I to talk? Umar, on the other hand, this is adab. Adab from him, he's a good boy. But Umar told him, no, speak up. By Allah, if you have said the answer, that would have been the best thing, better for me than everything on earth. I would have been very proud of you. So they are always with them, befriending their kids. Number 2, make them happy. Don't bombard them with rules. And kids, by default, are not mukallafeen. We make a big mistake. Pay attention to that. We make a big mistake when we keep talking to kids about something like, if you do that, you go to the hellfire. This is wrong. Or this is haram. Yes, we can teach them about the concept of haram, generally. But they are now, like you lied, for example. We tell him, you know what, you lied. He's not going to go to the hellfire if you lied. He's not going to go to the hellfire if he did not pray. You know why? Because he's not mukallaf. He's not in a full capacity. He's not in full mental capacity. He's a youngster. But you are teaching him. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave us 3 years to teach them how to pray, which means they can pray one time, they can skip that. It's a process of learning. But you teach them that there's something called haram. You beware of that. But not like to scare him or to make him think of Islam or think of those things of like, oh my God, if we go here, don't make it like that. Make him happy. When he does something good, you encourage him. When he does something bad, you can do it better next time. Help him. Because he is in the process of building, the process of tadreeb, which is training. It's not the process of judging. You did it wrong. Even if he lied, it's not the end of the world. You have to, Imam al-Ghazali, he said he had a very beautiful likening, tashbih in him. He said the process of building of the murabbi, father, is just like the job of a farmer. A farmer is sitting like a tree in there or some plants in there, and it's not that he sits it and he puts it in the land and that's it. No. يتعهدها يأخذ الحشائش. Every now and then he gets the weed out. There's weed. Oh, he's starting like growing up bad behaviors. He's lying now. He's cheating. He is bullying others. Whatever. That could happen. No problem. But you are there to take off this weed. Help him. It's not only to tell him, but help him and show him how. And help him to get all that. That's important. And then the spirit of competition, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would always sit that spirit in there. When they achieve something, recognize them. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is there in the hadith. كان يصف عبد الله وعبيد الله وحثيرا من بني العباس. 3 kids, he's getting them all there. Putting them in one line, starting point, and he goes far, and he said, whoever comes to me first will win. Go. Ready, set, go. A race. Just playing with them and setting this kind of competition spirit. It's not like whatever, no matter how you achieve, you're always good. No. Yes, encourage him, but also make sure that they achieve the best and they shoot for the best. And they all come to him. The first person touches him, the next person gets to him, jump on him from the back. No, I got to you first. That's the hadith. And ثم يقول من سبق إلي فله كذا وكذا. Whoever comes to me first, whoever wins, touches me first, wins the race, he will get such and such. فيستبقون إليه. And they will get to the race. فيقعون على ظهره وصدره فيقبلهم ويلتزمون صلى الله عليه وسلم. They will all come, somebody's coming in from the back, I got you first, somebody got to the chest, and he will hug them and kiss them all, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and give them gifts and everything. So, sit that spirit of competition in there. Maybe you can ask, how can we do that with our kids? Not competition in the sense of, you're the best, everybody else is nothing. Maybe you can build something. Who can build this for me? To develop any kind of competition in there between them so they can shoot for the best. Any idea how can we say that? Little idea, little example to get them to compete with one another, to achieve things within certain time faster. Hifz al-Quran is one of them. To memorize Quran, whoever finishes Qul Allahu Ahad, or this or that. When Abu Hanifa, he sent his child to the Shaykh, and the Shaykh told him Surah Al-Fatiha. You wouldn't believe that. He made a big celebration. And he gave him a 500 dinars. At this time, 1 dinar was enough to buy something big. And the teacher said, what? This is too much. He said, do not belittle what you taught him. You taught him Surah Al-Fatiha. So said that you have achieved something. By just learning Al-Fatiha, you have achieved a lot. And then the competition will go on in everything in their life. Make them happy. Said the spirit of competition. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would also ask questions like the example we just said. Who knows what tree is this and that? Who can tell me? So this is a kind of competition as well. Number 4, encourage them. Encourage them. Like Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did with those boys. Umar, radiallahu anhu, he used to get Ibn Abbas. Umar is the Khalifa. And the council of Umar are الشيخ وبدو, the elderly people, the elite people. This is the council, Majlis al-Shura of Umar. But he used to bring with them and get with them Abdullah ibn Abbas. A young boy, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, one of the elder people, he said, good Sahabi, giant Sahabi, he said, yeah, Umar, why are you getting this little boy with us in this session, like into the Senate? We have a committee now to discuss big things. You think just a young boy with us? We have children his age. And Umar got it from him. He said, okay, you know who he is related to the Prophet ﷺ, but Umar wanted to prove it for him. Next time, Umar invited Ibn Abbas, and Ibn Abbas knew, he said, I knew Umar is planning something. And then Umar said a question for everybody. Surah إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ, to the end of the surah. What would you say about it? Oh, he said, just that Allah said, when the victory of Allah comes to you and everything's conquest happen, and you see people coming in droves to accept Islam, this is the time to thank Allah and glorify Allah and ask forgiveness, because He is always tawwab. إِنَّهُ كَانَ tawwab, always accept the repentance. He said, okay, that's good. Abdullah ibn Abbas is there. He said, what would you say about it? Is that the meaning of the surah? He said, what I know about it, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, is that أَجَلُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم نُعِيَ إِلَيْهِ. My understanding of it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are about to die soon. Your mission is almost accomplished, which means that's the end of it. Because Allah is telling the Prophet when Islam reaches everywhere and people accept Islam, this is time to what? Thank Allah and ask forgiveness. Why? Because your life is about to end. Umar, as a knowledgeable person, he said, that's what I know about this surah. So he's trying to give the message to other people that he is young in terms of number of years, he is little in terms of the body, but he knows a lot, much more than you. Everybody here, in the session of Umar radiallahu anhu, so he was encouraging him. Abdullah ibn Abbas was mustashar li Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar also used to bring al-Qurra, people who are qualified, who know Quran, even though they are young, like Abdullah ibn Abbas. We need to encourage them. We need to praise them. Praise them in something in them, not just to overpraise them or make it too much, but praise them like the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would do with everybody around him, and play with them as well. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was playing with Al-Hasan, Hussein, Khalid is coming, this little girl, he's calling her Khalid, mother of Khalid, which is a way of respecting her, talking to her like a big lady, like a lady, which is something, a way of respect back then. So we need to encourage and praise them and also play with them. One of the strategies as well, which is very, very important, number 7, is to build confidence. This is very important. How to build confidence? I'm going to give you 5 items in here. We go over them very quickly. You need to enhance in building a child's will. They have to have a will. Many times you see children, they go with whatever their peers would choose. Oh, if their friend likes this, they will tend to like it. If they don't like it, they go left and right, left and right. We need to enhance that you have to have a will. You have to have a say. You have to have a way to look at things. How to do that? So many, incidents are out there. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching Abdullah ibn Ja'far, I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell it to anybody. So you have to have a strong will to control yourself. Don't go. That happens sometimes. Something happened in the house. It's a secret. And then the child goes and tells everybody. We need to teach them. No, there should be a will that you keep the secrets. This is secret. So number 2 is fasting. The Sahaba, they used to teach them how to fast, which is a very good way to build confidence and self-control and self-discipline. It's not time to eat yet. Not to punish them, not to make it hard on them. No. As much as they can. But we are building the will. And we are building the self-control into those kids. Number 3, in the building the confidence, get them involved. Don't do everything A to Z with your children. Go buy them stuff, buy them clothes, and do everything, and the mother takes care of the house and father. Get them involved so they feel their existence and they feel that they are part of that. That help build their confidence as well. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would tell Anas, give him jobs and businesses to do. Go do that for me. So he is building his personality. Teach them skills. your child is 7, 8, 10. He doesn't know much of stuff what's going on. Teach him how to use tools, how to, memorize some surahs like other kids, maybe a lot of the Quran. Teach them some stuff. So when he is talking to somebody, he's proud of himself. We have our own life established. Who are you? If they ask you, who are you? You will have 5, 6, 7 things to introduce yourself. That's there. I am Dr. Such and Such. I studied in this college. Or you can introduce yourself somehow, right? The children, they don't have none of that. If you ask me, who are you? My name is such and such. I'm the father or the son of such. He doesn't have this personality. When you teach him, he knows Quran. He knows how to build things. He has some skills. So he builds his own personality that gives him confidence. Financial development, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day passed by Abdullah ibn Ja'far, the same character again, young boy in the marketplace selling and buying. He's selling stuff. He's making business, selling stuff and making money. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua for this young boy who was selling stuff. قال مر بعبد الله بن جعفر وهو يبيع بيع الغلمان أو الصبيان قال اللهم بارك له في بيعه أو قال في صفقته. He said, oh Allah, bless his transaction, bless his selling. So we might need to do that. You are probably an example. You are taking stuff, buying stuff from Walmart, getting to the cashier. Teach them, this is the credit card, this is how it works. So let's see how much we got. Get them to swipe it, maybe. Get them to do something so they feel they are involved. They pick up something, they put it here. Simple tasks, so that builds their confidence. And it helps a lot. Now?
You take the bank account after giving the credit card?
Yeah, you trust them. After you build the trust and confidence, it will work, inshallah. Number 8, call them with the best names. Like the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, Ya Khalid, Ya Ghulam, oh boy. Choose good titles to call them. And Ya Aba Umayr, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam called another. Yeah, so it's consistent that he's calling them with the best names, respecting them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then respond to their needs. How many times they've been asking you little things? Dad, can you come just play with me? Can you just respond to their needs? See what it looks like trivial for you, nothing for you, but respond. He wants you to do that. Maybe you can teach him it's not the right time, but you have to respond and you have to make them happy. Number 10 is you need to repeat. It's not just one time. It's not a classroom. You say it one, even in classrooms. You don't say something one time, keep repeating. So tell them again, and take your time, tell them again. I told you to make your bed after you wake up in the morning. They will not make it from first time, or second time, or first year, or second year. Take your time. And repeat things, no problem. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said, عَوَّدُوهُمُ الْخَيْرَ فَإِنَّ الْخَيْرَ عَادَةٌ. Teach them goodness, because it's a habit. Grow this habit. Let it grow in them. And then number 11, which is the last, step by step. You're teaching them things. You're taking the weed out, al-akhlaq al-fasida, the bad characteristics, the bad behavior. This is a process that's going to take some time. So you need to go over it step by step, like teaching the prayer. Next Hassan said, "Allimuhum," or teach them how to pray at the age of 7. And then you start taking it to a different level, being serious, disciplining it. If you don't do it at the age of 10, which means 3 years just for teaching how to pray. That's it. Prayer, wudu, siyam, and things like that. Before we go to a couple of slides before the break. We will talk about the building process very quickly. How to build. Now we're talking about the strategies that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to build. This is going to be the core of the course in here. How to build. You told us about the strategies he adopted sallallahu alaihi wasallam to build, but how did he build it sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I'm going to talk about a few blocks that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam put in there and built in there in the children, and those blocks will yield at the end that full product of Anas, the alim, or the successful person, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Ja'far. The way the book is set is he's talking about the bina al-aqdi, like the aqidah of them, the faith system of them, the faith block, the ibadah block, how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the adab, the ethics block. So many blocks. And the way it is put in order is aqidah number one. But the way it is believed to be the best, according to Sheikh Awadi and others, and that's what I believe as well, is emotional love. If they love you, it's like the bridge that will help you build everything else. If they love you, the builder, the father, the parents, if they love what you are giving to them, that's going to be the bridge that you can pass through it, everything to them. They trust you, they love you, you are their friend, they will accept you. Whatever you tell them, they will take from you. But if that bridge is not there, of emotion of love is not there, he looks at you as somebody who always give commands, he always yell, that bridge is cut. Whatever, no matter how much you teach them, it's not going to be as effective. The most important one is the emotional love. Give kids first. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Thimar al-Madinah was basically a community that has a lot of farms, and so the first fruits that used to come at the season of harvest, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would call, everybody is there, would call the kids first, and he will give them the top of the fruits to taste it first and to try it first, and then he would make dua sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال another story, that's one hadith. Another story from Isa ibn Talha, his nephew. They're saying the hadith. He said, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was back in the time when he was young, I got to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and along with other kids with me, أنا وغلمة معي, and we saw him eating. He was eating some tamr. And what he did is he shared with us. He gave us some food. وَمَسَحَ عَلَى رُؤُسِنَا. He wiped for our heads. He tapped us, or he tapped us on the head. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He still remembered that decades later, and he's telling it to the next generation. That's how much effect it got on him. Which is nothing. I mean, he just called them for food. Just for him. Not, I'm going out. I'm going to take my dinner out. Can you join me? Come on with me. Make them, ask them, where do you want to take your food? This outing, we're going out just for you now. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is making them the highlight, the most important, the focus of the things here. He is wiping over the head sallallahu alaihi wasallam in giving a gesture and a touch of love to everybody around him alayhi salatu wasallam. Always, you see that in so many ahadith. Hassan, Hussein is coming, he would do the same thing. Anybody around him, in many ahadith, he would hug them. He would, wipe over the head sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Good reception of the kids. Kids are coming, and Nabi would receive them. He would receive them in the best way. He would see them. Fatima would come, his daughter. He would make her sit in the best of place, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Asking about kids. If they are not there, ask about them. Check on them. What happened? What's going on? And then give special status to the girls, because they are special. They are not to be dealt with like anyone else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about kids as a gift, He said, يَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ إِنَاثًا. He gives as a gift for whomever He wills, Allah, girls or females. And He started with that. وَيَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ الذُّكُورِ. So He mentioned girls first, but He mentioned them indefinite, إِنَاثًا, females. And He mentioned males later, but He mentioned them with alif and lam, definite الذُّكُور. So it means something. Look at it and think about it. It has some significance in it. Once we build this emotional bond, once my child loves me, or it could be the one that I'm teaching him. Process of tarbiyah is not only for the fathers, for a teacher, for anybody around him. Nabi was not father for all of these, but he was a builder, Rabbi for all of them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he built, number one thing, this trust and confidence and love, emotional love was there. They love him. He is coming from outside, they are the first to receive him. He is there making salah, some of them are riding on his back, alayhi salatu wasalam. Love is there. Then you can pass along anything and everything to them. This is the most important thing. Now you can build all the other blocks, the faith block, the aqidah, al-bina' al-aqadi. It's not easy to teach them about unseen things. Allah, where is Allah? How is Allah? Angels, Jannah and Nar. It's not easy, but after you build the emotional block, they love you, they trust you, they will take everything from you. And it's the fitrah. It's not like against the nature. It's actually the nature of any human being that they accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they know فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. After we teach them the aqidah and Allah, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi is teaching Abdullah ibn Abbas what? He's teaching him, إِنِّي أُعَلِّمُكَ كَلِمَاتٍ. Let me teach you a few words, oh my Lord, in the right time, in the right context, using the right way to teach him. And then he told him, احفظ الله يحفظك. As we said in the beginning, the long hadith that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching to Abdullah ibn Abbas, beware of Allah, and Allah will protect you and take care of you. احفظ الله تجده تجاهك أو أمامك. When you beware of Allah, you will find Him always for you, supporting you, typically right in front of you, there for you. And he said so many beautiful things that we need to learn and we need to pass along to our kids. I'm just passing quickly over that. You can go back to that, inshallah, and learn. It's very famous hadith. Teach them the love of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only that he is our Rasul, we need to accept him, we need to believe in him. No, we need to love him. It's part of our faith. It's part of our faith to love the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anas is there. He's serving the Prophet. Usually, he's doing, this is his job, day and night, to serve the Prophet. Basically, it's not to love it, it's there, I'm doing business here. No, he was loving the Prophet. Zayd ibn Harith, Usama ibn Harith. Zayd was taken. We all know the story of Zayd. He was taken, he was a free boy from a good family. He was taken by some people as a slave and sold in the market. He ended up being in Mecca. And Khadija radiallahu anha bought him and she got him and she gave it as a gift to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to serve him. Spending some time with the Prophet ﷺ was enough for Zayd to prepare him and love him over anybody else, including his parents. His father and uncle came later on. They came, he was taken to Mecca by those people and sold in the markets of Mecca, and he knew where he was. And now they are coming to Zayd. Zayd, hey, come on. They talked to the Prophet ﷺ first. They said, this is our boy, he's not a slave or anything, and that's what happened. Another tribe, they got him by mistake or something, and he said, well, fine, go take him. Talk to him. If he wants to go with you, take him. Don't pay me anything. I'm not going to take any money for that. They said, wow, that's a very generous offer. They came and talked to Zayd. Zayd, come on, I'm your father. This is your uncle. Let's go home. He said, I'm sorry. I can't go with you. This man, I love him so much. Yeah, subhanAllah, he loved the Nabi Sallallahu so much that he didn't want to go with his father. His father said, are you crazy? You prefer to go like that as a slave? What is wrong with you? He said, no. What I have seen from that man is different from anything else. I would rather stay with him. And he stayed with him. And from that time, the Nabi Sallallahu would say, you are free, you're not a slave anymore, and you are my son. That's before adopting becomes illegal in Islam in terms of carrying the name. He was called Zayd ibn Muhammad. From that time, he announced to everybody, this is my son. I adopt him. His name is Zayd, son of Muhammad. And it continues to be like that. This is how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam built love. So when we love Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ourselves, and we pass this along to our kids, Islam will become very easy for us. We wouldn't love him Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam until we study his life. We look into his seerah. We see and compare and contrast who is Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. We know much more about so many other figures around us probably than we know about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is part of our faith. Let's teach it, learn it, and pass it along to our kids as well. We probably take a break in here, inshallah, before we come back and have the final quick session, inshallah, with the worship block, the social block, the adab or the ethics block, and finally the sexual block. How did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam build all of these blocks to finally end up having this full personality, a person who will teach nations after him and lead nations after him. Jazakumullah khair. He was just riding behind him Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the mountain, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Ja'far. He's making a race between them and competition between them. He's basically looks like one of them. Like it becomes like one day a man came, a Bedouin, usually taught, he said, Ya Rasulullah, it's like always kissing your kids and things like we don't usually do that. He said, what do I have to do with you if Allah didn't put mercy in your heart? Like he sees the Prophet kissing his children, grandchildren, and he's dealing with them in passion and love. So it was so clear and visible to everyone. So much so that Abu Hurairah, one of his friends, every time after the death of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he sees Al-Hasan, his grandson of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the son of Ali and the son of Fatima, radiallahu anhu jamia, he would cry and he would, kiss him. And when he was asked, why would you do that? He said, I saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he left even the minbar. He was giving khutbah on Friday, and he left the khutbah and the people just because Al-Hasan was coming, his grandchild, to receive him and bring him and hug him, and he got him. And then he continued the khutbah. And then the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever loves me should love you. Oh Allah, he said, oh Allah, I love him. Oh Allah, love him. And whoever loves me, please love him. So every time Abu Hurairah would see this boy, Al-Hasan radiallahu anhu, was growing, the grandson of the Prophet, he would love him so much, and he would greet him, and he would receive him, and he would even cry, remembering all of these stories with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He felt the emotional love, and through this bridge of emotion and love, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to pass along and carry to them all the faith, love of Allah, love of Islam, love of this deen, love of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, love of al-akhirah, the hereafter. That's what he managed to do. We move on to the next block that he built, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the worship block, al-ibadah. We usually teach now by words. You have to pray, it's 5 times a day, once, in the morning, in the fajr, and then, it's good, but this is not the best way. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam built it from the very beginning, and he made them love Salah. He made them love the masjid. He was very friendly to them. He made them love it, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Ibn Umar, he says, one of our characters today, he said, عِشْنَا بَرْهَةً أَوْ بُرْهَةً مِنْ دَهْرٍ. We lived for quite a while, and nobody knows but ayat, few verses from the Quran that taught us iman, faith. And then later on we came to memorize the Quran and know that we learned the ayat and we think deeply into them and it gets into our heart, and then we were able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right, based on that iman. That's not only Abdullah ibn Umar, another person, young person, Jundub ibn Abdullah, he said, كُنَّا غِلْمَانًا حَزَاوِرًا. We were so young children around the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قَالَ فَتَعَلَّمْنَا الْإِيمَانَ قَبْلَ الْقُرْآنِ. And we were taught Iman. We absorbed Iman before we even learned the Quran. ثُمَّ تَعَلَّمْنَا الْقُرْآنَ فَازْدَدْنَا بِهِ إِيمَانًا. And then we learned Quran, and it was enough to increase and enhance our Iman. So let's teach our kids first, before we teach them, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Teach them Iman first. Anything they love, including toys, make some connection and attachment that this is from Allah. Because Allah loves you. Because Allah loves you, He gives you that food that you like. Because make them love Allah. Allah loves me that much. He gives me food, He gives me things. And that's the reality. If they love to go outside and play, it's Allah who give you this world. It's Allah who give you those trees and those parks and what have you. When they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they will be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very easily. And He's taken it easy on them. Train them, take your time, 3 years, show them, lead them by example. They are in the masjid with the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And one day he's leading Salatul Fajr. Fajr is long, usually it takes long. He made it so short. Why? Because a lady with her young boy, child, back there is crying. And he was sallallahu alayhi wa sallam aware of that. He made his salah and the jama'ah congregation very short. That it was noticeable for everybody. Why? Because somebody is praying, a lady is praying, and a child is there. We'll make it friendly for moms and for kids and everybody. He would teach Anas quietly. Anas was probably praying there, and he was looking left, and he said, إِيَّاكَ وَالْإِلْتِفَاتِ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. You know what? When you are praying, do not lift. Do not turn your head left and right. You have to be focused. He's teaching him, alayhi salatu wasalam. He calls Al-Husayn, his grandchild, and he's teaching him wudu. Let me teach you wudu. And he showed him how to make wudu in a nice way, in the best way. They are taking them to Salatul Jum'ah and teach them the etiquettes of the masjid. Easy and nice. Kids will take it. Just teach them. It's not that we get them to the school and to the masjid and drop them and expect them to know everything, but it's not going to happen. We need to teach them in the nice way, in the best way, but let's take our part to teach them this ibadah. It's Ramadan time. They will teach them fasting. Easy. When they are hungry, اللعبة من العمر, they will get a toy made out of wool to make them, not cry for a while. Not to punish them, but then maybe to have a day, full day, until they get used to it. And during Hajj, a lot of the hadith of Al-Hajj are narrated to us by children. Al-Fadl is riding behind the Prophet ﷺ, young boy, and it was Hajj time, and a lady who's making Hajj on Arafah is asking the Prophet ﷺ a question. She was very young, very beautiful, and Al-Fadl was known to be very handsome. He was just riding behind the Prophet and looking at her, staring at her. And she was staring at him too, asking the question, Ya Rasulullah, my father is old, can I make Hajj on his behalf? And you notice the young boy and young girl looking at each other. What would you expect the Nabi? For those who do not know this hadith, what do you expect the Prophet ﷺ when he saw somebody in Hajj, in Arafah, in Mecca? This is like, we left everything behind, we come to Allah, and they are just looking at each other, staring at each other. What would he do? He didn't even speak up and say, that's not right. He just took his face and turned to the other side. What did the boy do? He came back again, was looking at the lady, and the lady is looking at him. He said, just turned his face, and he was answering her question 3 times. And then after she left, he said, well, oh my little boy, إن هذا يوم من ملك فيه سمعه وبصره وقلبه أو قال وفرده غفر الله له. He said, oh my little boy, this is a day that whoever guards his gaze, his heart, and his private parts, when he said something else, Allah will forgive all of this. This is a day that if you really protect yourself and focus on your ibadah, don't let anything distract you, Allah will forgive you. So this is how he told him, and it was him, actually Al-Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas, his son, his brother, who was narrating this hadith. So it's easy, they will make mistakes, no problem, let it, teach them, take the chance to teach them, like in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he is building this ibadah of lowering the gaze, being watchful of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. But the point is they were making Hajj with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, let's move on to the next block. Social block. The social block. We have our kids, they are growing up, and we have the society, the community, the large community out there. We usually leave them on their own to figure out things. No, we need to teach them, get them involved in the society, step by step. A mother with his girl, with his daughter, get her slowly to the gatherings and khalas and teach her how to deal with the community. A father with his son, same thing. We saw just a minute ago, Abdullah ibn Umar, his father is taking him with him. Taking him where? He plays and he does everything, but he's taking him to the session of Rasulullah, involving him in the bigger sessions. Usually this is something, I don't like this much. When we're having our social gatherings and everything, we have a space or a place for the kids upstairs or somewhere else complete. They can play the Xbox. And the fathers are there somehow, and the mothers are somewhere. Where are the kids? They need to join us. Not all the time. It's not a problem that they have their own place. But at least let them join the elder and talk. Listen to them. What are they talking about? So they can learn from them. At least for a while. Salah time. Let's get them with us. Maybe some of them knows Quran. Ask them to leave. So get them involved somehow. Get them involved with the community around them step by step. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one day he got to the children. And they were there, he was playing with them. قال, the narrator of the hadith, one of those children, Anas, قال نضح أو نضح بساط لنا فصلى لنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وصفنا خلفه. We were there, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was visiting us. That was probably when he was visiting Umayr, when he lost his bird. He said, what happened to your bird? We stopped with him, and then Salah time, they had their prayer rock, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prayed, and they are praying with him. Umar radiallahu anhu, as we said, he used to include Abdullah ibn Abbas, even though it's not his son, but he's a child, literally a child. He got him into the bigger community because he is qualified to do that. We teach them the sunnah of salam, teach them the sunnah of greeting others. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is teaching Anas is coming, and he said, Ya bunayya, إذا أتيت أهلك, when you're coming to your household, to your family, سلم عليهم يكن بركة عليك وعليهم أو على أهلك. Give salam when you first come home or something to your family. Basically, Anas is with the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He left his house. He's with the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam day and night. So he's saying, I'm your family, and we are one household. When you come to your family, give salam first. It will be barakah, blessing on you, or for you, and for the family as well. So we know our kids are coming from the school, and they are very hungry. Where's the food? Is the food ready? Yeah. They have right to say that and to ask, but let's teach them first. Say salam first, calm, and then the food will be ready in a while. So let's get them not to be shy, to talk, and to give salam, and to be part of the community. Building the social block, and then building the adab, the ethics block. This is very important. There is a hadith, we see it in there, there is no gift a parent can give his child that is better than good manners. ما نحل والد ولده من نحلة أو نحلة خير من أو أحسن من أدب حسن. There is nothing ever that you can give or pass along to your child, a gift that you can give to your child, better than an adab. To teach them how to behave, how to be a good person. This is the best thing ever you can give to your child. And he's teaching us how to show them that, not to lie to them. And the Nabi said, "Man qala li-sabiyyin," whoever says to a boy, "Come, I give you this. Come on. Let me give you something." And then he doesn't give him what he says, كَانَتْ كَذِبًا. That will count as a lie. So teach them the adab, and respect them, and pass the good things along to them. وقال ليس منا من لم يرحم صغيرنا ويوقر كبيرنا. He is not the one who does not show mercy to the young amongst us and show respect to those who are old amongst us. He doesn't really belong to that system, value system of that nation. He's not one of us. So this system, he's teaching us to be merciful to the kids, and the kids to be respectful to the elder. That's the adab that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is teaching to the entire community, the elder, the old, and the young. And one day he teaching the adab of how to look, the appearance, for example. We saw something that's unfortunately very common today, al-qazra, which is, one day he saw somebody, a young boy, his father, he got part, one side or one part of his head is shaved or cut, and the other part is not. And he said, you either shave it all or cut it all or leave it all. So this is one of the adab that he's teaching us. Don't try to look like other people who are not just like I shave my head like that or have this haircut because I want to look like someone else. No, you have your own personality. So he's paying attention to teach them the adab, the akhlaq, the manners, and even how to look and appearance, as far as appearance and so on. He's bringing the kids, as we said a minute ago, that first crops at the harvest time, they will be brought to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he will honor the kids, bring them, the first people, come on, eat from that. They will eat from that. وكان يقول صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم بارك لنا في مدينتنا وفي ثمارنا وفي مدنا وفي صاعنا بركة مع بركة. Oh Allah bless us, bless this city of ours. He will give the kids number. The first thing he will let them start with eating in a way of respecting them. Finally, the final block that we will teach our kids, there are so many other blocks, but those are just a few blocks that I chose. The sexual block. This is something that's kind of taboo, that we really talk to our kids about sex and sexual adab and things like that. It's there in the ayat and the hadith. First, we teach them permission. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, وَإِذَا بَلَغَتْ, he said what? Surah An-Nur. Surah An-Nur has a lot of adab and ethics for kids, for women, for men, for everybody. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ليستأذنكم الذين ملكت أيمانكم والذين لم يبلغوا الحلم منكم. Basically, your kids should ask you permission before they get to your bedroom at 3 occasions, 3 times before Fajr and قبل صلاة الفجر. Usually you are asleep and you're not really yet. You're in your bedroom. You are in bed. So teach them to ask permission before you get to your room at this time. ومن بعد من قبل صلاة الفجر وحين تضعون ثيابكم من الظهيرة. And at noon time, back then, at noon time he used to have a nap. So teach them to ask permission as well before they get to your bedroom. And then the third time is ومن بعد صلاة العشاء, after Isha, when you are ready to get to sleep. So they have to ask permission. And then when they grow up, they are adults, they have to ask permission all the time. All the time, before they get to the bedroom of the father and mother. So we are teaching them that there are limits. You know, there are things that you can never journalist exam in Ajal Basar. It's basically because of what you can see. So it's basically you're asking permission because of what you can see. You may see things that are not appropriate for you to see. So Allah Jalla is teaching us this. And from young age, you are teaching them there are limits, bedrooms, different from you know, the living room and so on. Then he's teaching us lowering the gaze, the story of Al-Fadl ibn al-Abbas. Easy, just a child growing up, looking at a lady, she's looking at him, and he told him, he told him, like, if he prevented him, he said, you can't do that, stop, you are in Hajj, what are you doing? That's probably what I would do, or anybody would do. Okay, yes, okay, I'm not going to look at her. But did I learn anything from that? Not really much. But if the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just pass it along to me, this is your faith, this is your religion, pay attention to your God. This day, if you protect yourself, Allah will forgive you. Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah, I was wrong. I'm not supposed to do that. He's teaching him, lower your gaze. Allah is telling us in the Quran, in Surah An-Nur, the ayat for both men and women, how to lower your gaze. When it comes to that point, both of them are staring at each other. Why? They are not just communicating general talk. No, they are looking at each other and something is going on in there. He's teaching us also covering the private parts for prayers, for example. So they are growing up, we teach them salah, we teach them that, yes, you can be playing in shorts and whatever, but then when it's time for salah, the girls will get the hijab, the boys will wear certain, you know, decent clothes. So they are learning. It's teaching, you know, sexual law. Probably you expected to talk about, you know, things. Those are this is the beginning. This is the essence of it. You're teaching him how to ask permission, lowering the gaze, covering private parts, and respecting certain places and certain cases, and knowing the limits, what to show, what not to show, and what have you. Teaching us also separation in beds once they get to the age of 10. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said what? Teach them salah at the age of 7, and then وَفَرِّقُوا بَيْنَهُمْ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. At the age of 10, one of the things that you do is boys and girls, it's okay, please sleep together at younger age, but at this time, you need to have separate beds. Why? Because the boy is growing, the girl is growing. If they are sleeping in one bed, you know, that's not going to be good. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us to avoid that, to respect that we have two people are growing up, we need to have separate beds for them. He's teaching us also something from the etiquettes that you're not supposed to sleep on the stomach, because some unnecessary arousing could happen. If you can imagine a boy sleeping sleeping on his stomach, that could make him, arouse him somehow. No, and this is teaching us to, if we have to sleep, begin sleeping, you know, on our right side, then later on we roll on everything, no problem. But you can see that dimension in what he's trying to say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Try to avoid anything that would arouse you. And in this regard as well, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving direct advice. He's talking about it. Somebody is coming to talk to him about sexual thing. I need to have permission to do that, to make zina, adultery. Give me permission, Ya Rasulullah. See what the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is looking at. He is looking at somebody who is not just coming to break the rules of Islam because he doesn't care about Islam. If he really doesn't care about Islam and rules and he doesn't have faith, what would he do? He would ask for permission. Go ahead and just do it. But he is coming to the Prophet ﷺ. Why would he come to the Prophet? Because he has certain faith and he knows this is against his faith. And this is the one who is teaching me everything and I love him and I can talk to him and I can approach him. And now I'm asking him, can I do that? Then the Nabi ﷺ, recognizing all of that, did not just judge him and point finger. No, he talked to him. Come on. And he told him things directly. Do you like this to happen? He talked to him directly, face to face. Then, as far as marriage, I don't know why we delay marriage. I know, I'm aware that we have a lot of conditions and circumstances, but it is in Islam very recommended. Once the person reached the age of puberty, they are basically ready to get married, physically ready to get married. They might need some time to really mature and everything, but not to the 30s, not to the late 20s. We are ignoring that natural, normal tendency in both boys and girls because of any reason that could be valid or not valid. Finally, and I conclude by that, couple of messages to the parents. After the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us the strategies, and let's go over them. What was the first strategy? The general strategy, what was the first one? Lead by example. Give them example, right? General strategies. And what? Choose the good time to build the process. And then be fair to them. Get back to your notes. What else? Give them the rights. Asking permission to a child next to him. What else? Make a lot of dua for them. What else? Advise them. Yeah, help them to be good to you. And the next one, the final one was what? Do not blame too much. This is the first general strategies that we need to use. And then we move to what kind of strategies? The intellectual strategies, right? The first instruction was what? To help them build up and develop, tell them a lot of stories. 2, be straightforward. Be straightforward. Teach them directly. Do not make it difficult and complicated. 3, get down to the kids' level, play with them, befriend them. What else? Show them how to do things and be an example for them. What's after that? Talk to them. Communicate with them. Do not dictate, but talk and communicate in a better way. Not just talk, but communicate and have a dialogue with them. And what's after that? Set an example. Set them, let them be attached to a bigger example, ultimate example for them. The Prophet ﷺ, one of the companions, my hero is Umar, my hero is Khalid, rather than anything else that could lead them to crazy things like this guy who jumped from the window. And what's after that? The psychological strategy that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us to use with our kids. And with that, we discussed a few points. 1, befriend them psychologically. When you befriend them, they will accept everything from you. What else? Make them happy. Your job is not to just give them all the knowledge and instruction. No, make them happy. 3, set some kind of competition, the spirit of competition. And then number 4, you need to encourage them. 5, you need to praise them. Number 5, you need to play with them. And that was build confidence. This is very important. You need to build confidence, and we give some instructions or some guidelines how to build confidence in them. And then we move to what was the next strategy that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used and taught us. The emotional. He told us how to build the blocks as we are building the personality of the child. And in order for us to do that, we build the emotional block. I start with them. So it works like a bridge that will pass along everything. And the first thing we'll pass along to them is our faith. We believe in Allah. We love Allah. Our faith in Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam being our prophet and our guide. And we love him. Our faith, everything that we believe in. And then we can pass along the block of ibadah. The worship block, how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how to make worship something like they love to do. And then we built what other blocks that we built, that Nabi Sallallahu told us how to build. The social block, get them involved in the society. They will make mistakes. When you get them to the gathering, they will eat from here and there, they will not behave right. Fine, they are learning. They are learning and so get them involved so they will be social, they will be talking, they will teach them the adab al-salam, to the end of what we said. Next one, ethics. Do not ignore that. Just be like the farmer, as Imam al-Ghazali said, farmer watching his plant growing up, taking the weed away from it, giving it the right amount of time and the right time. Water is good for them, but choose the right time and the right amount for your grass. So otherwise, you'll be killing your grass. You'll be killing your, plant in there. You need to be like a farmer. And what was the final block? The sexual block. akhlaq, this is something that we need to teach them, and instead of leaving it on them to watch things and get it from outside, no, we teach them, and it starts from the very beginning. Permission before they get to the bedrooms, and covering when they get to salah, and so many other things that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us, lowering the gaze, and then at the end, the marriage, when they are ready for marriage, we make it easy. We do not look at cultures and things and make it complicated, make it simple and easy for them so they can do that. Finally, with a couple of advice for the parents, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam قال كلكم راع. All of you are guardians. He's talking to the entire community. You have people that you are responsible. You have circles of responsibilities. وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. And every guardian will be questioned and will be held responsible for the ra'iyah, for those who are under him. And then he said the man is a ra'i, a guardian in his house. The woman is also a guardian responsible for her family household. That's number one thing. Think about it. You are ra'i and you will be questioned about it. All actions are cut off except for three, as we mentioned, when we leave this life. Everything is gone for us, except one of the things that are remaining for us is our kids. Invest in them now. It's another life for you. It's an extension of your life. Everybody is born on fitrah. Your kids are not. Don't think bad of them. They are very stubborn. They are on fitrah. And Allah gave them pure to you. So make sure you do your job from day one. Day one, so inshallah, that will yield the best of benefit. And rifq, be rafiq, all of us are learning. Aisha, Rafuq, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is teaching Aisha, teaching everybody to be lenient, so easy, so he can pass along things. And finally, the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara, or you who believe, protect yourselves, protect your families against hellfire. How? You need to teach that. It's a process of tarbiyah, building. And in order to make a change in our community, in our society, in our life, in the future of this country, of this community, the only effective way that we can do it, even though it takes long, is the tarbiyah. Invest in that next generation, because that's how Islam came. It didn't take long, just a few years, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was able to raise this generation. This is Anas, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Ja'far, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, all of these kids around the Prophet. He passed away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Islam was still in Arabia. They took Islam literally everywhere because they just got the baton, they got the flag, they got the banner, and they moved all the way to China, all the way to America here, everywhere. They got it everywhere. That's what we need to do, inshallah, in order for us to be successful. By this we come to the end, inshallah, but we have a very important follow-up little presentation in here about the 5 languages of love. I thought Sister Hiba was going to be the best to introduce that, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. How is everyone enjoying the morning so far? Alhamdulillah, I'm sure with great benefit. All right, everything is up. So Imam Ahmed talked about some very important points, of course, a plethora of information to take home with, and I'm certain that every single parent in here, or uncle or aunt, or a person, a community member, listened and heard and was able to relate some story to your own experiences, something that you did correctly or maybe incorrectly, and something that you intend, inshallah, that when you go home you'll change with your child and improve and build upon, because parenting is so much of a building experience. For us as parents, nobody is born being the perfect parent, nobody evolves into the perfect parent all at once, and kids don't come with manuals. It would be nice if you were born and we have a manual as to how to raise this child, especially because you have different kids who need different types of parenting. And that's where it becomes the greatest challenge, is how do you react and how do you interact with different children. So what we reviewed all this morning is our good practical points and good stories of the best murabbi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he specifically dealt with children that we can take home. In a lot of the Western context, the Western literature that you read now on parenting, it's amazing because when you read it, you'll find so much that our beloved Prophet ﷺ already did. And you can trace it there. But it's nice also to look into some of the contemporary works in terms of practical application as well. And my twins, as you all know, Isa and Musa, have led me to read many books and literature in terms of how to better deal with them. And one of the most effective books that I came across was a very, very simple short book by Dr. Gary Chapman, who goes around and travels, and he's actually been in Panama City and given this lecture here, and my family went to attend it, and my parents, called The 5 Love Languages. And the idea is that children, just like people, have different personalities and different ways that we are supposed to communicate with them. And so if you have two people who speak Russian and Chinese, even if they are speaking to each other very positively and saying very nice things to each other, if they don't understand each other, then that love, that connection isn't being established. And he proposes that there are 5 primary love languages that our children have, that humans have. Actually, the 5 love languages started as a marital book. It was a relationship book for husbands and wives. And then he evolved it into the same love languages for kids with more specific information. So you can apply this to your spousal relationship, or you can apply it to your kids, as is our purpose today. He identifies the 5 primary love languages, and he encourages every parent to really be introspective into what your child's love language is, and to learn how to better communicate with him or her in that love language. So as you hear these examples, try to identify what your child, what category he or she falls into. The first example is physical touch. Some kids love to be touched and hugged and kissed and embraced in the morning, and you know your child if this is your type of child. Hugging is a basic human need. Physical touch is a basic human need, and it's a natural instinct. Even if you look at the Prophet ﷺ, when a baby is born and he encourages the adhan, does he encourage just to stand there and make adhan publicly, or to hold your child and to hold your lips to that person's ear, to that baby, that infant's ear, and make adhan? There's so many examples of physical touch from the stories we heard this morning and the stories that we know about Rasulullah ﷺ, and encouraging that type of relationship. It's a natural instinct, and it provides, for kids who have this as their primary love language, emotional security. And it's very obvious, I don't need to go into it very much, but you see that a lot of kids, who fall and who are hurt come to their parents for a hug, and they need that to feel better. How can we express it? Tell me. Obviously, there's, hugging your child, kissing your child, but more than that, when you're sitting and watching TV together, why don't you just put your arm around them? Very, very simple act of expression of love. Now, the problem is that some of us, as adults, we're not very touchy-feely people. Right? Yes, show of hands, not very touchy-feely. I'm going to go ahead. Yes, okay. So some of us are, sorry to call you. Some of us are not very expressive in our physical emotion. But when you recognize that your child is loved that way, then parenting is not an easy thing. It's not just the way we want to parent. You have to understand that this is the way your child hears the words, I love you, from you. So put your arm around them. When you're walking, hold their hand. Play physical games with them. Sometimes boys and girls like to wrestle, especially boys. And that physical touch that's afforded by something simple like wrestling is enough to say that, we're connecting on this level. There are some assumptions that make it difficult. One is that the need for physical touch decreases as the child is growing older. So you think that little infants or babies, toddlers need a lot of physical touch, but no. People whose primary love language is physical touch need that continually, even into adulthood. You have certain husbands or wives who are also very touchy, and often they marry the opposite, which is a problem. And the other assumption is that boys need this less than girls. It's not true. This is a personality, a temperament, an innate personality trait that if you feel like your child needs that, you need to be able to afford it to him, especially if it's a boy, and not assume that it's wrong. Here are quotes from our children. I went to our community after Jama'ah, at the school, other places, and I asked random kids, how do you know your parent loves you? And then I categorized the answers into the appropriate category. So I know my mom loves me because she hugs and kisses me and makes me feel happy. My dad always kisses me and tells me how glad he is to see me. Can you guess that this child's love language is physical touch? Absolutely. Because if I ask a general question, how do you know that your child loves you? This is what they say. Well, then you ask your child, how do I know? And I ask my children as well. How do you know that I love you? How do your parents love you? And I can identify. And you try it and see what they say, and it'll help you identify their primary love language. And by the way, we can have more than one love language, but there is usually one that stands out more than others. Words of affirmation is another one. Now, words of affirmation means to use positive words when you're talking to your child. Positive, encouraging words. Now, a Middle Eastern and Eastern Asian culture is not necessarily to use very positive words, correct or not? Yes. Yes. Sometimes, unfortunately, we even use animal words to address our children. And this is a very unfortunate relationship that you're building. Okay, so what you tell your child is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the Quran, أَلَمْ تَرَى كَيْفَ ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا كَلِمَةً طَيِّبَةً كَشَجَرَةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ أَصْلُهَا ثَابِتٌ وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ. The example of a good tree is like, a good word is like a good tree whose roots are deeply embedded into the earth and its branches are far-reaching. This is the effect of positive words. We don't need Western literature to tell us this. It's in the Quran. But it's affirmed, and now we're talking about this, that when you use positive words with your children, it creates self-confidence. It creates an identity. It gives them reasons that they understand. Why are you proud of them? And some kids really, really need this. And the one point to remember about words of affirmation is it's not enough to say to your child, I'm proud of you, or you did well. Kids whose primary love language is words of affirmation, they like specific. I love the way you handled that situation. You were very wise. You look so beautiful today. Some parents don't like to compliment their children physically because they think it might make them arrogant or something like that. No, kids need affirmation on things that are true and legitimate about them. You did really well about that. Let's say, for example, you're looking for something and your child finds it, or you're playing I Spy or whatever, and you say to your child, wow, you're my eagle eyes. You did just fabulous. I can't believe you found that. Then it makes them feel so good. Those are some examples. Here are some quick ideas, of course. Leave a note in their lunchbox when they go to school. I'm sure some mothers have done that, or not. But I feel that's something that I do with my children, and I feel like they are so elated when they come home and they say, I found your note, it made me feel so good, I loved it, it was, wonderful. Just very simple things that you can do. Or even just to say, I love you to them. This is not because many parents grew up overseas, we're not familiar with the words I love you, but your child is growing up in America, and I love you is the epitome, the 3 words that epitomize what love expression means. And so even if it's not comfortable for you to use those words, I love you, with your child, they know because of the society that they're growing up with in that I love you means ultimate love. And if their love language is words of affirmation or not, then those words are really important for us to get into our vocabulary and develop comfort using. Quotes from our children. I know my parent loves me because they don't yell at me. Well, not that much. My parents say they're proud of me. Quality time. Quality time says that I love you and it says, you are important to me, and I enjoy being with you. That's what quality time is. It's not going out all together and being on your phone. It's undivided attention. In this electronically, saturated world, it's really hard to turn off everything and to pay all that attention to your child. If your child's primary love language is quality time, then some quick ideas that you can do together is cooking. For example, boys and girls love to cook. Both boys and girls love to cook and make a mess in the kitchen, and that's okay. Telling them a story really close, sharing with them, doing homework, even planning a play date, especially if your child's love language is quality time and you have more than one child, then that child is very thirsty for independent attention and really wants your undivided attention, not just from electronics, but just from all the siblings as well. And so to plan a date and go out with him or her and do something special that he or she likes is always a very, very good thing to do, or even to plan family activities together. But just making sure that they're electronic free is very important. My mom loves me because she takes me to soccer practices and she stays with me. Look at that, very specific. She doesn't just take me and drop me off. She stays with me. That's quality time. And my dad comes to my games. My mom takes me places with her and she tells me that she likes when I go with her. It's not just taking somebody and children feel like, oh, I had to be dragged along. Tell your child, I'm really happy that you're with me. I'm really enjoying this time that we're spending together. The fourth love language is acts of service. It's so important right now to ask, if your child's primary love language is acts of service, they like to be, things help, they like to be helped, they like to have their shoelaces tied, even though they know how to do it and we want to teach them independence. Sometimes it's nice to do something, or cooking for them. Perform a service that the child appreciates. So, hypothetically speaking, many mothers express their love in the kitchen by doing what? Cooking. And for many children, especially as they age, they'll have pizza and be very content with that. But you've just slaved for hours in the kitchen, and then you present this yummy, delicious meal to your children, and they're not appreciative, and they're acting bitter and upset, and you're thinking, what an ungrateful child I have. I just did all that, and they're not even cleaning up this huge mess that I made, and they're complaining because they want pizza. Well, guess what? You're doing something for them, and that's not their love language. So find out what your child appreciates and do that for them. The biggest problems that these create is resentment between the giver and the receiver. And this is especially true in marital relationships, but that's a different seminar. And age appropriateness. Sometimes we do things for kids that's not appropriate for their age, or we take them places also for quality time. So we take our kids with us if you're a physician to the hospital in the morning, and then we give them all these restrictions as what to do while we round on our patients. Or you take them with you to Lowe's, and it's a girl who really would rather spend time with her dolls, okay? And you say, I'm spending quality time. You have to find out. There's a story once in our family where we were at the beach, and one of the members of the family was trying to play with one of the girls, the daughter, and he said, I keep trying to build a sandcastle with her, I'm trying to do everything, and she's just not interested, so, forget about quality time. And I said, well, just ask her what she wants to do. And he went and he said, what would you like to do? And she said, I want to walk with you. And they walked for an hour, just walking and spending that time together. So it's very important not to assume and be presumptuous as to what the child wants, but to go after their likes and preferences. Everyday ideas, cooking a surprise meal, any type of service that a parent can do to the child that stands out exceptionally, and let them know that I did this for you because I love you, I did this for you. Quotes, my mom buys us yummy food. She doesn't really cook, but that's okay. She doesn't cook that well anyway. So here, the acts of service is not cooking. It's my mom buys us good food, and I appreciate that food, which is better for me because I appreciate that more. My dad helps me review my homework every night. Finally, tahabu, of course, one of the most well-known ahadith, give gifts in Islam, increases your love for one another. It's easy to identify if your kid loves gifts. All kids love gifts, but some kids really just thrive out of getting gifts. And some parents don't like to buy and spend money. But if that's your kid's love language, then guess what? You're going to have to change your approach with your child, and every now and then give them incentives, or without an incentive, buy them a present. And there's a little bit of a conflict here: undeserved gifts versus earned gifts. Love languages can be earned, but also sometimes it's just to surprise them with something. Here are some basic ideas: making him or her a card, small treats, a locket with a family picture in it, or a picture of both of you in it, or a special presentation on their birthday, or something like that, showing their, how they evolved in age and things like that. Quotes from our kids: I know my parents love me because they always buy me things. My mom and dad give me things when I need them, and if I ask for something, I usually get it. So, when the child says that, I can identify their primary love language is gifts. It's not necessarily gifts as into, buying them a notebook because you think that's going to be beneficial for them. No, buy them things that they like, even if it's Legos. Emotional intelligence. When educating the minds of our youth, we must not forget to educate their hearts. There's so much literature on emotional intelligence, and all of it you can see in the relationship of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're 2 minutes past time, so I'm just going to summarize in 2 sentences. It's the idea that we focus so much on academic intelligence and building the child academically, but we don't focus so much on having them creating a sense of empathy in their hearts. Not sympathy, empathy for other people, feeling what other people feel, and relating and having a relationship with others on the basis of empathy. So educating their hearts and establishing emotional intelligence should be, in my opinion, a top priority of a parent. Finally, dua is so important. And Imam Ahmed mentioned this many times and alluded to the idea that the prophets of Islam made so much dua for their children. And even in all the du'as they made, some of their children were not upright. And so we have to do our part, and we have to really educate our kids and be the murabbi that we're supposed to be. We have a huge task on our shoulders. It's not easy. If you feel like parenting is easy, then you're not parenting the correct way. Parenting is very difficult, and parenting different children is even more difficult. And we have to really try to find the right ways to reach out to our children, seek advice from each other, from people who have more experience than you, from the books, from the literature. And a saying that I really liked from Nu'man Ali Khan: a lot of times we come across circumstances that are so difficult, even with our children or in life. And there are people, he said, who came across the command from Allah or a circumstance in life, and the reaction to it is, oh Allah, I'm not capable of doing it. Many of us have felt, I'm not capable of raising this child. I don't know what to do. But instead of saying, Ya Allah, I can't do it, ask Allah, oh Allah, enable me with what I need so that I can do it. Ask for the strength that it takes to be successful. And inshallah, with Allah's help, you will succeed. So just emphasizing, get up for tahajjud. If you have a very difficult child, get up for tahajjud and make dua. Ask Allah to bless your child, to guide your child, all of these things, and continue. Never ever give up on the power of dua. May Allah reward you all for coming. I want to thank everybody who made the effort to come out today, and I want to attend all of those who helped put this together. Specifically, I want to thank Sister Asil Adhad, Sister Julie Ali, Sister Omnia, Sister Alia, Adhad, Aisha Ahmed, and Azka Mahmoud. MashaAllah, we're a very good team to work with. May Allah reward them all. And I also want to remind you that please don't be late in picking up your children from the masjid, whoever is there. 2:30 to 2:45, come back on the patio, right in the same building, right on the other side of these doors. There's going to be an outdoor performance. The weather is beautiful. Brother Raif is here. He's an Egyptian-American nasheed artist. He sings beautiful songs. It's so important that we teach our kids Islamic alternative for entertainment. And so, inshallah, come back for that. Bi'idhnillah ta'ala, I'd like Imam Amir to end with a dua. Jazakumullah khairan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول
بسم الله اللهم بارك لنا في أولادنا يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, bless our kids يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, enable us to do the best for ourselves and for our kids يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, you created us and you make us Muslims. Oh Allah, give us the power to make the right choices يا رب العالمين. اللهم اهدي أنفسنا وقلوبنا وأولادنا يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, guide our hearts, guide our kids, and show us the right direction in life يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, if we have any mistakes, forgive the mistakes and give us the power to correct the mistakes. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khair. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want to thank Sister Hiba and everybody who was part of that. Thank you for coming. Jazakumullahu khair. Inshallah, we're going to make more of these